Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Singapore Polytechnic's 13th Design Thinking and User Experience 2022, or DTUX Summit for short. Before we begin, please direct your attention to this important safety message about our convention center. Once again, welcome to our 13th Annual DTUX Summit 2022. We are so happy that you are here with us today in person. And for those of you who are joining us virtually and online from the comforts of your home and offices, welcome. Today's format is hybrid. That word has now come to mean the new normal. I am Emma Meyer, and together with our team from the Development Cluster, Department of Industry Partnerships, Schools of Architecture, the Built Environment, Schools of Chemical Life Sciences, Media, Arts and Design, and School of Business from Singapore Polytechnic, we will be taking you on a journey today as we explore this year's theme of navigating new frontiers, helming the waves of disruption. We have 6 speakers here today, all thought leaders and industry champions. All of them have championed and leveraged innovative solutions to redesign experiences, meaningful experiences, to improve the way we live, expand our businesses, and improve the way we relate with each other and in the future. I hope that through this summit, we will be inspired and we will become more bold in taking on strategies and opportunities that truly synergize the core essence of human experiences and improve the way we live our lives and in the future. While each speaker is giving their talk, do post your questions and thoughts via slido.com. This is a QR code. Your questions will be addressed by the speakers during our panel discussions. Do interact and explore new ideas with them during that time. We will be recording this session, and it will be available online for the next 30 days. You know, yesterday I was just here together with several lecturers from Singapore Polytechnic. We were here yesterday for our annual Excellence in Education Training and Convention. And the tagline was reflect, reaffirm, and reimagine. And there was something that the person I will be introducing to you shortly said something that really stuck with me. He said, you know, when you reimagine the way you relate with your students, the way you engage and collaborate with the industry, you often end up surprising yourselves. So just sit back and enjoy today's summit because we might just surprise ourselves with the things that we will walk away with. So to open our DTUX Summit this morning, we would like to invite our Principal and CEO, Mr. So Waiwa, to share his opening remarks. Mr. So.
Excellency Chutington Konsakdi, the Ambassador of Thailand to the Republic of Singapore, Ms. Jolene Santos, the First Secretary and Counsel from the Embassy of the Republic of Philippines, Mr. Gusti Agun Ketut from the Education and Cultural Attaché of the Indonesian Embassy, Ms. Dawn Lim, the Executive Director of the Design Singapore Council, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to the 13th Design Thinking and User Experience Summit organized by Singapore Polytechnic, or we call ourselves SP for short. I'm glad you can join us this morning. To all of our overseas participants, partners, a warm welcome to Singapore virtually. We hope you will have a fruitful session, all of us, at this Design Thinking User Experience Summit this year. During the pandemic, we had to transform 2 runs of this summit. We did it virtually. I'm heartened that this year's event, we are hosting it physically. At the same time, we have managed to provide access to our international partners and friends. This year's summit marks many firsts for us. Today is the inaugural launch of the Temasek Foundation Singapore Polytechnic Design Thinking and Innovation in Universities programs in Southeast Asia. We planned it that way. The program consists of a consortium established with SP's long-term regional partners, the Bina Nusantara University in Indonesia, the Ateneo de Manila University in the Philippines, and King Mongkok's Institute of Technology in Thailand. This partnership will continue to strengthen Southeast Asia's position as a leader in innovation and open up our borders for mutual learning and knowledge exchange. We hope that this summit will continue to promote and accelerate the power of design thinking and human-centered innovation to enterprises as a meaningful approach for local and regional transformation. I'm excited that this year's summit is a part of the Singapore Design Week, which is organized by Design Singapore Council. Thank you for the endorsement, Dawn. Design is a powerful tool for business growth, product and service innovation, and social progress. Together, we can harness design as a change catalyst, turn challenges into possibilities, and create a livable and lovable city by design. Today, we have lined up exciting talks and workshop sessions. Our distinguished speakers will be sharing how design has been effectively considered and deployed to transform organization structures, human capital, and even the way business are engaged. Design had helped organizations to weather the challenges of the pandemic and ensure our continued relevance in the markets we operate in. We will also learn how design thinking can help enterprises with their regional expansion plans. Last year, I shared with you the story of SP's journey in a hybrid world, where we harness the power of digitalization to redesign and transform the user experience of our students and staff. Since then, we've continued to navigate new frontiers and rolled out new initiatives in line with the society needs, particularly in the area of environmental sustainability. For example, one of our recycling programs aims to recycle solar panels on a commercial scale and recover more than 90% by weight of materials from the solar panels. Green modules such as environmental management and sustainability design are now available in our diploma courses offered in our schools. We are equipping our graduates with the required skills to meet the urgent needs of an increasingly sustainable economy. With more businesses incorporating sustainability into their operational processes, it is key that our students are also armed with the skills and knowledge that will allow them to pursue careers in sustainability-related fields. In this way, we fulfill our mission to prepare our students to be life-ready, work-ready, and world-ready. In addition, we also help industry cope with and tackle the challenges of sustainability that all of us face today. At SB, we outreach to the industry via our industry innovation platform and our company and workforce transformation program. If you want to hear more about this, both programs can support us, and it is available in our microsite for this site. In closing, our SP story is just one example of how all of us can pursue new frontiers successfully and ride the waves of disruption. We have lined up a series of plenary presentations hosted by thought leaders from Singapore and overseas in this area. They come from Design Singapore Council, Ericsson, as well as SME vanguards such as Irvin Salted Egg, Egmore Paints and Chemicals, and OmniPlus, as well as public service innovators like ActiveSG. Through their insightful sharing, let us keep the curiosity burning as we move out of our comfort zones and discover a new world of possibilities. I trust that they will inspire you and spur you towards your transformation journey. I will end by thanking all of you for your continuous support and participation in our DTUX Summit. I would also like to extend a special word of gratitude to our distinguished speakers who will share their insights today. With this, may we all have an enriching time today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, PCO. And we would like for you to stay on stage as we proceed to mark the momentous signing of the 3 MOUs between SP and BINUS, Ateneo de Manila, and KMITL universities. At this point, we would like to invite His Excellency Chutintorn Gongsakti, Mr. E. Gusti Agung Katat Satria Wibawa to join PCO on stage. Can we also invite Dr. Antika Sawadsri, Dr. Ariono Margiono, Dr. Roberto Martin N. Galang, Mr. Henry Tan, Mr. To Sirkun, Ms. Tang Suyin, and Mr. Ryan Lau to join us as well. We would also like to invite Ms. Joylene E. Santos up on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, this year, SP marked its regional collaboration with 3 leading universities in Southeast Asia: Bina Nusantara University in Indonesia, Ateneo de Manila University in the Philippines, and King Mongkut's Institute of Technology, Ladkrabang in Thailand. This consortium of IHLs in the region, as PCO had mentioned just now, will strengthen Southeast Asia's leading role in innovation education and catalyze the role that design thinking and human-centered innovation can play in the enterprise transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, as witnessed by our principal and CEO, His Excellency Chutintorn Gongsakti, Ms. Joylene E. Santos, and Mr. E. Gusti Agung Katet Satria Wibawa, please put your hands together to wish great success for this new consortium. Thank you, PCO, His Excellency Chutintorn Gongsakti, Ms. Joylene E. Santos, and Mr. E. Gusti Agung Katet Satria Wibawa, and honored guests. Before we kick off our series of talks, I'd like to just mention a bit of jitters. When we started earlier, I missed out to mention that we are, of course, doing this summit together with our Chemical Life Sciences, or CLS. So please, round of applause to all our schools here in Singapore Polytechnic. Now it's time to kick off our series of talks with our first speaker, Dawn Lim. Ms. Dawn Lim is the Executive Director of Design Singapore Council, or DSG. PCO just mentioned today that Design Week kicks off this week for the next 10 days. So please come out, go all around Singapore and join our friends from DSG in celebrating design here in the city. An experienced leader in business development and strategy, Dawn firmly believes that design can make the world a better place and intends for DSG to play a critical role in infusing design into every aspect of our society and economy, and position Singapore as a global design hub. Dawn is a design thinker, swing dancer, and according to her, a better baker than a cook. And today, Dawn will speak about enabling and driving design for businesses. Dawn, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. How are we doing today? 9 a.m. on a Friday morning. Mr. So and Emma are very kind to introduce Singapore Design Week. This is actually the first partner event of Singapore Design Week. So thank you, Singapore Polytechnic, for having me. We officially launched tonight, so keep an eye out for all the events that are coming up in the next 10 days. I'll share a little bit more about that later. As Emma introduced, my name is Dawn Lim. I am the Executive Director of Design Singapore Council, and I'm here today to share with you how design can help your businesses drive growth and innovation. Before we start, I want to share with you a little story of an experience I had recently. I was at a conference exhibition a couple of weeks ago, and you know, everybody is back in full force in person with all these events. And one of the company booths had a VR headset with a BIM model as a solution that they were trying to promote. And I thought, oh, this is exciting, right? So I need to go and try this headset. So I went to the booth, the tech guy set me up with the VR headset, and he said, no, stay within the blue lines. So I stayed within the blue lines. And then he said, okay, can you move forward? Right? So with the handset, I moved forward, and I walked right into the wall, like the virtual wall, not the physical wall. Right? And he said, okay, what do you see? And I said, I see a wall. And then he said, oh, okay, can you reverse? And I tried to reverse, and I got stuck. I said, no, I cannot reverse. I'm still in the wall. So we tried this for a couple of times. I managed to turn at an angle, and then he said, okay, can you see the turnstiles in the BIM model? I said, yeah, okay, I can see the turnstiles. Great. Now he says, press this button. Can you measure the distance between the walls? I'm still inside the wall. You want to measure the distance in another wall. Okay, we tried that, to and fro a little bit. And then he said, okay, I want you to try this other feature we have, teleport. You can fly up and see the whole model from above. Like, oh, this is great. So I maneuver this handset, and I press teleport, and then I end up in the ceiling. And so he said, what do you see? I said, I see the floor. So we went to and fro for a couple of minutes, and then I said, okay, I think I've had enough, thank you very much, right? And I took off the headset, and actually I had major vertigo. I had to stop for a couple of seconds just to recover, right, before I could walk and move on. And my reflection after that experience, it was a grand total of maybe 3 to 4 minutes, was if I was in the market looking for a product like that, I would not have bought that product from that booth. And this just goes to show how important it is your user design, your user experience is in your product and your solution. It makes a difference between a customer or a lost sale for a long time. So some of you might be wondering, like, okay lah, so that's a great story. What do I do with this for my business, right? And that's why I'm here today, to share with you the power of design and that good business is all by design. In fact, if I may use the theme for Singapore Design Week this year, I would say everything is by design. Now, the easiest way for me to share with you, for those of you who are business owners here, is stories of other companies who have successfully used design in their business innovation and growth. And today I'm going to share with you 3 companies who have successfully done so. Let me start first with DBS. Everybody knows DBS, right? World's best digital bank. How many of you here are DBS customers, retail? You have an account with them? Nobody, yeah. Okay, half? I thought it would be a bit more. Now, if you are a DBS customer and you use their app, right, you may or may not know that there is a feature called peak balance, right? And we've sort of given you a little bit of a screenshot here. Now, how did this feature come about? So DBS actually has a design team in-house, and they observe the user behavior on their app. And in doing so, they realized that there were users who were trying to find a quick way to look at their account balance, but without having to go through all the features of what the app could fully offer, right? And maybe they just wanted to see if the salary got credited for the month, if the student loan got paid out for the month. So just a really quick way to look at peak balance, right? And so they saw that need and created this feature. Now, this was rolled out about 5-6 years ago, and today it is one of the most popular features on their app based on their user observation on their app. And this just goes to show how good design, by bringing an empathetic lens, you're putting your user at the center of it, right? It doesn't have to be rocket science all the time. But if you put your user at the center of it, you create a much stronger brand association, a much stronger loyalty to what you can offer. So next one I'm going to share. Salad Stop. Many of you, I think, familiar with Salad Stop. They sell salads. And Salad Stop started about 12, 14 years ago. And they use design to better understand their stakeholders, right? Especially during a time of COVID when the context of doing business changed. So let me say a little bit. When Salad Stop first started, they used design to develop their brand, to develop what they stood for. And so if you're familiar with Salad Stop today, and if you're visiting from overseas, please go and visit Salad Stop. They have very interesting salad concoctions, salad names, right? So like my favorite is Tuna San, right? If you don't know what it is, please go and check it out, right? And they created that niche for themselves because they saw that their clients were looking for healthier options, but with a twist. And so with all of that, they were able to deliver a really great customer experience if you go to their store. Now, 2.5 years ago, we know pandemic hit, nobody was going to the shops. All of us were moving to food delivery. So how do you bring great customer experience that was designed for a physical store online? Right. And so they brought design into that process to rethink how they could engage their customers both offline and online in an integrated customer seamless experience that stood for their brand. And they found out that what their customers wanted was not just to be able to order Salad Stop online, but order other things online, not just salad, right? And that allowed them to then create a platform that allowed their customers to order salads and other food products that are also offered by the Salad Stop company brand. Now, coming out of the pandemic, Salad Stop is now recognizing that discerning customers like you and I, we're actually demanding more sustainable solutions from the brands that we buy from, right? And so just recently they opened, this is the picture of their brand new store at Capital Spring, which is their first net zero carbon neutral store in the entire network. And recognizing again, because they put their customer at the center of their design process, they saw that sustainability was a demand from their customers. They now offer other solutions like Bring Your Own to reduce single-use plastic. They've partnered with other vendors to offer solutions that you don't have to bring your own Tupperware, for example. There's a company that will offer that and clean it up for you, but we're not using single-use plastic, right? So these have enabled Salad Stop to engage meaningfully across the spectrum with vendors and partners, as well as their customers, for a changing context that we live in. Next, the third company I wanted to share with you is a local SME called Meyer. Meyer does lifts, right? And actually, when they first started, they were a subcontractor to HDB, right, primarily. And as the business was growing as a subcontractor, they thought, hey, you know what? There's an opportunity to pivot to a B2C clientele. I'm going to sell lifts to customers directly. So they brought in a design thinking consultancy, Ideatio, to develop a strategy to help them break into this B2C market, right? Now, if you're moving from a B2B, one major customer, which is the government, and you're trying to move into a B2C market for lifts, you can imagine how challenging that is. So the design firm that they worked with found a couple of challenges for Meyer. Number one, the products were complex and the process was technical, right? Number two, it was difficult to implement service delivery for lifts. I can't imagine what it is. I can only be like, yes, I'm sure it must be very complex, right? And thirdly, when you move to a B2C, your customers demand better service. And when you call and you show up, they want service, right? It's different from serving a B2B. Meyer wasn't set up for all of this. And so based on these issues, the design firm Ideatio worked with them to redesign a couple of things. One, they redesigned a catalog. So you can see a snapshot of this here to make it more user-friendly, more intuitive, right? You can see more diagrams to make it understandable, right? They created a showroom, also in this picture, so that customers can come in and experience what it is like to use a Meyer lift. And thirdly, they developed a set of service delivery guidelines for Meyer staff. You'd be surprised, something as simple as guidelines of consistency in how do you greet customers goes a very long way. Right? So we cannot assume that that was in their DNA because B2C was never their original clientele. Best part, 6 months after implementation of all of this, Meyer saw a 50% increase in business. 50%, 6 months, right? And this just goes to show how design can help you pivot your business, acquire a new customer segment, and really help your business grow. Now, earlier this year, Meyer decided to diversify even further. So they were so successful in B2C, they're now moving to commercial, right? So B2B, but not just one government, but many other businesses, right? And Design Singapore Council is working with them with one of our programs called Frame and Scope, where we help companies look at using design thinking as a process to innovate and to grow. Now, the 3 stories I shared earlier illustrate how you can use design, right? It's not just about aesthetics. It's not just about making things look good, right? It's really about making things work. I shared about DBS, how it improved its app, Salad Stop, how it engaged its customers and adapted to their changing needs, and Meyer, how they pivoted to a new customer segment. These were all made possible with design. One of the first questions at the start is, what is design, right? And design at Design Singapore Council, we see it as both a methodology, but also as a mindset of putting your customer first, putting the user at the center of it, putting the end user and client at the heart of it. Now, traditionally, and for those of you who are students in the room, we think of design as place-making, image-making, object-making, experience making. But actually, the best, boldest innovations are at the intersection of all of those disciplines. Because design is actually transdisciplinary. It is not bucketed into any single thing. If you put your user at the center of it, it will cut across all sorts of disciplines. And to quote Steve Jobs, design is not just what it looks like and it feels like. Design is how things work. So I shared with you some of these stories of how companies have been able to use design, right? Where, how can your businesses start, right? Now, this is a hot tip. You can actually assess your business's company design performance online. Now, in 2018, McKinsey created an online tool for businesses to assess the state of your company's design performance. And they tracked 500 publicly listed companies across multiple industries and multiple countries to derive this index. Now, their index shows that companies that use design in their business process, in their innovation, and their product development actually outperform their peers by 2 to 1, right? It's very similar to what I shared earlier about Maya's revenue going up by 50% after they took into account design as a process. And so this just goes to show that if you invest in design activities from the start, your potential for growth is immense, enormous. Now, I spent quite a bit of my first half of my sharing talking about how businesses can use design. I'm going to switch gears a little bit and talk about the designers that are needed to help businesses drive this growth. Now, many of you here, I think, are students. I can't really tell from the light in my face, but I saw a lot of young faces outside, so I'm going to presume all of those are students. And I think it's important for budding designers to adopt a mindset of continuously learning, upskilling, reskilling. And I'll share with you two stories here from two designers out there today. They are Design Singapore scholars. So Design Singapore actually gives out scholarships every year to anyone who's pursuing an undergraduate or postgraduate degree anywhere in the world that's design related, specifically design related. So this is Zik Rafid. Zik today is at Ernst & Young as a user experience designer. He pursued a Master of Arts and Master of Science in Global Innovation Design from the Royal College of Art in London. Right. So at EY, he's working with clients to co-create workshops that he translates complex technical briefs, right, into easy to understand holistic solutions, right, as part of EY's innovation network called WaveSpace. And one of the things that he's reflected to us is that not only is he required to produce quality work with the design technical skills that he has, he actually needs a lot of soft skills in communication, because it's about translating all of that to the client. Again, user centricity, client centricity. And this actually resonates very much with a study that Design Singapore Council does. Every 2 years, we run what is called a National Design Industry Manpower Study. We share that with all the schools. We survey the industry to get a sense of what kind of skill sets are demanded by the industry, what kind of roles are available out there. And the most recent one that we did that was concluded in 2020 actually showed that most of the employers that we interviewed favored designers who were transdisciplinary, who had both the design technical skills, but also the soft skills to communicate and translate that for their clients. Next one I wanted to share with you is Joyce. This is Joyce Liu. Joyce is a very interesting title. She's a proof of concept lead for innovation product management at Dell's Experience Innovation Group. It's a mouthful. Right, and that's actually what we call an emerging design role. It's actually not very common, but it's something we see coming up more and more. Right? And now what does she do as a proof of concept lead? She works with hardware and software at Dell to produce immersive and inclusive experiences, right, as well as productive meeting experiences for Dell. And she drives the proof of concepts for them from inception to launch, so that they can actually break into new markets that today Dell is not in. Right? So both these profiles just give you a quick glimpse of the kind of roles that are emerging, that are changing, the kind of skill sets that are being demanded of designers. And you know, we will see increasingly as more and more companies set up their regional and global headquarters in Singapore, they set up their innovation hubs and centers of excellence in Singapore, the demand for designers and these skill sets will only continue to grow. I want to switch a little bit to the future, right? Now, you know, in an educational setting, actually, I always find you always are pushing the boundaries of what the future could look like. And our future, there'll be two things that will be irrevocable. Firstly, it will be technologically driven, and secondly, it will have sustainability at its core. And I want to spend a little bit more time talking about these two intersections, because in the next 5 to 10 years, we will all be spending our time in the metaverse in some shape or form. Those of you who have children, who have teenagers, some of you who are students, you really spend hours gaming or on Roblox. Right. So you can only imagine in the years to come, more and more of us will get onto those. Right. But how do you and I interact with each other in this spatial internet? Today, spontaneous interaction, I come, I say, hello, Mr. So, how are you? Very nice to meet you, right? In the spatial internet, how do our avatars spontaneously interact, right? It's today, everything that's designed for that technological universe is not built for spontaneity yet, other than if you're gaming and you shoot somebody and need to run and hide and then game over, you move on to the next thing, right? So the user experience and user direct interaction of this new world is important, right? How do we make sure that it's inclusive and accessible? That's the element of sustainability. It's not just always about climate change. It's also about making sure that it's inclusive, accessible. How do our visually impaired friends access the metaverse in the future? Right? How do the elderly who are less digitally enabled, right, access their bank accounts in future in this digital world? Right? How do students who are from lower income, who already have a technology disadvantage, how do we bridge that gap for them to access this world that we're all headed towards? These are all critical design questions about our future. And they require designers who understand the interaction between users, between technology and sustainability, right? And bring out that future that is user-centered for the next 5 to 10 years. So the power is in our hands now. Design is the core of all of that. Now, before I end, I wanted to share with you a little bit about what's in store for Singapore Design Week. Right, Emma, Mr. So all shared just now. We are launching Singapore Design Week after a 2-year break, bigger, better than before, right? There will be activations at quite a few different locations around the city. National Design Centre, which is the home of Design Singapore Council, is hosting Potato Head from Bali and their concept of regenerative design, right? Raffles City has a physical, digital, phygital fashion showcase. And then Little India is activated, the whole of Little India is actually being activated by one of our design partners on how we bring design into the neighborhood, into the community, how do the shops, the residents, the community spaces interact, and it's all by design, right? There are many other talks and speaker series that you can sign up for, so do visit us at sdw.sg to find out more. And I look forward to seeing all of you on the panel later. Thank you.
Thanks, Dawn, for underscoring how design is more than just aesthetics. I like what you said about, it's not just about looking nice, but making sure it works. Truly, design is a critical and powerful lever to drive new business growth while riding in the strong design, manufacturing, and R&D ecosystem in Singapore. And to you watching or listening out there, if you found something interesting that you'd like to tweet or post, do include us with hashtag SPDTUX22 or hashtag SPDTUX Summit 2022. In the meantime, if you have any questions at all for Dawn, I know I have a lot of questions already. Do remember to leave them in slido.com for the panel Q&A session later. Up next, we will be hearing from Sing Hock Lin, who leads the transformation of Active SG to support the organization's Vision 2030, to inspire the Singapore spirit and serve the community through sport. Hocklin was a senior Army officer who participated in large-scale operations with multi-level stakeholders and often in complex and dynamic environments. He was also involved in organizational change management and a firm believer in creating value at work. Hocklin excels in bringing out the best in people through engagement and development. Today, Hocklin will share about ActiveSG's transformation journey amidst COVID-19. Without further ado, let's hear it from Hocklin.
Thank you very much for the kind words. A very good morning, Your Excellencies, Ambassador of Thailand, Sawadee and all our friends from Indonesia, Philippines, and distinguished guests and friends. It's really great to be here. I'm going to tell some stories in a very informal way. So first, I'm going to share with you ActiveSG 3.0 journey, and we call this Invictus. I'm inspired by two things. Number one, Invictus is a movie. How many of you have watched the Invictus movie? Oh, all of you study very hard, is it? Oh, in Singapore Poly. Okay, I watch K-drama every day, yeah, despite working 40 hours, all right, because K-drama is very interesting. Invictus movie is about who? Nelson Mandela. I really admire him. After imprisonment, he came out and he used one means to rally the country. What is that means? You will be in your test. For the student, what is the means? Anyone can just shout out? Rugby, yes, rugby. I was so inspired. I watched it 3 times before I took on this role as Chief of ActiveSG. Because we are a national movement for sports, what is my role? But I'm not Nelson Mandela, and hopefully I don't go to prison. Right? And he rallied the nation through one means, rugby. Because South Africa was having an apartheid situation, all right? Everyone can play, all right? And rich, poor, disabled, special needs all can play. And second one is about that Invictus is also a poem, I think by William Agnes. Sometimes I stand here, I just cannot remember. And the two key last sentence of the poem. We are a master of the destiny. We are captain of our soul. All right, and it gave me a lot of inspiration. And that is also connected to our Singapore story. From impossible, we make it possible. And that we launch into a 3.0. So today I'm going to share with you how we apply design thinking, not in very very conventional way, but how we apply it during a crisis, COVID, through the crisis for new normal, and then how do we emerge stronger. So first I want to share who are we, all right? Basically, we are a national movement for sports, and we inspire to everybody to live better through sports. All right, and we take a life continuum perspective from young all the way to not so young, old, and even the frail. And we can't do this on our own, so we work with all kind of partners, and we have partners here even from McDonald's and FMN. And our vision here is about to inspire the ActiveSG lifestyle and transform the nation through sports. So note that ActiveSG is not a facility or just membership. We want to move it to an adjective from now. Now is N-O-U-N, right? English, to an adjective. And our ultimate vision is to be a verb. So that hopefully one day when Singaporeans meet one another, it's not about jia pa bui. King Kao mai, makan ready or not? King Kao, right? I try to impress ambassador. So after this, I got a job in Thailand. King Kao, everywhere is King Kao. Singaporean also, Jiapawe. But we hope that you have you ActiveSG with me, you know. Have you keep active? And very quickly, I'll share with you a video how we deal with COVID in a very special way. This is our story called Ops Sayang. And during, I think I will say last year, let the video play, then I'll tell you the story.
I can imagine family, friends playing badminton in this badminton court happily and sweating previously, and looking at the sports hall now being converted into a makeshift dormitory. Actually made me feel very heartened. It's an opportunity for us to contribute to this whole cause for taking care of foreign workers who came from far to contribute to our society.
Teacher, teach me to be kind, quick to embrace and slow to close my mind. If we reach that star, we'll have the universe in time. Here's to my homeland, a sea of shining crystals in the sand.
My tree is the best.
Because of who you are, I can be everything I am. Here's to you, Singapore. Here's to my people, I could want nothing more. Here's to you, Singapore. We hold this precious jewel in our hands because of who you are. Yeah. Because of who you are, I can be everything I am.
Hello, thank you so much. Singapore, everybody, man. I can salute. Singapore, everybody. Singapore, very beautiful country. Singapore government give doctor free, give makan, give salary also. But this current Kilowatti Stadium come in, many sportsmen, Singaporean men, many helping. I salute, many salute. Thank you so much. Okay, bye bye.
So this is our story. We call this Operational Sayang. Maybe I'm a military person, so everything we want to do very seriously, we just need to put a word in front called operation. But I want to say that this is a real operation because we are dealing with enemies. And who are the enemies? There are two. One is COVID. The other enemy is fear itself. Deep fear of the unknown. And if you can say about the VUCA world, this is as VUCA as you can. And I think this is global. Everyone is facing this. So when I took over ActiveEnergy appointment, COVID arrived at the shore at the same time. How exciting. And the first thing I gave was to issue an order or mission to issue masks. Nothing to do with sports. 800 masks, 800 people to issue masks around the countries. And then the second mission is about converting our sports center to become a dormitory operations to support the migrant workers. So how do we do that? First, I want to say is that, like what Dawn just now said, but by the way, Dawn told me that we are supposed to wear black as designer. So I especially go and buy this shirt. But she's the executive director of Singapore Council, but she wear white. So I'm pretend to be a designer. She's the real designer. So you know who is the real one, right? So we started with this and say that actually, what is the relation to sports? First is about reframing. Sports is a force for good. In good time, we play sports. In a crisis, we rally the country through sports to serve our migrant workers. And what we took was really a human-centric approach, user-specific. But trust me, that wasn't my words when I was planning for it. Only for this, to align to Dawn, I've used the keywords. We wear PPE. It's called personal protective equipment. But what were the challenges? It's also PPE. It's not just physical, it's psychological and emotional. Defining the problem is key. Design thinking. Don is marking the points on me. We do not just provide them a shelter. By the way, we have more than 1 million of migrant workers in Singapore. And we appreciate all of them because they help us to set up this country and contribute to our society. This is the spirit behind. They are with us, they are one with us. Providing a shelter is very simple, but more importantly, how do we keep them fit? And when they come to Active Veggie, it's like Club Med. Every day, they got 2 hours of exercise. After they leave Active Veggie, they become stronger, fitter, healthier. And I think some of them want to join us. Second is the psychological fear. They fear not just for themselves, but they fear for the people back home. When we put them in the sports center, how do they remit their money back home? They cannot go out to the money exchange. Big problem, especially when it's Deepavali. Since they cannot go out, we bring the remittance lady in. She wear PPE and support them to transfer their money back home so that their family can have the fun to celebrate Deepavali. It means a great deal for our migrant workers. Second, because like I say, got fear, right? How do you deal with fear? They need psychologists, psychiatrists sometimes, even counselor. So we not just set up a shelter, convert our sports center within 7 days to dormitory. We put in Wi-Fi, they watch Bollywood. But more importantly, we also have Zoom session provided for counseling that speak their language. There are many, many things that I can share about this operational sayang. Just share one favorite thing that Singaporeans like to do is called food. I learned about Bangladesh curry, Indian curry, same, but different. Sound very familiar. When we go to Thailand, same, but different. And what was the magic that we found through the whole process? That it's not about cost. When initially we have food problem, the assumption was that the food was not being appreciated. And it was during Puasa. So Puasa, fasting period. I visited one of the dormitory at 5 a.m. I spoke to the migrant worker, say, how come you eat so little? And most of them were throwing away the food. And he told me, actually we don't eat sweet and sour chicken. Oh, big lesson. Food is not about more expensive or cheap or grand. It's about the taste bud, the culture. We went back, do the replanning, have another company, and we have Kirk here and a group going down to find out and realize there's a magic sauce. Actually, it's the chili paste and lime. Like all of us in our Southeast Asia culture have that special chili paste that we need to, like when I go Thailand, there's a special that very hot, powderful, very powerful chili. The chili pig. What is it called? Brick bond. Long time I never eat. We don't have a chance to visit Thailand. I think I scored enough point with the ambassador already. Okay. After this, should have a job. So simple things is really difficult in operation. But simple thing is even more important in crisis. Design thinking at the core. But what really guided us is these 3 C's. First, compassion. Put the heart in the right place, the system will be in place. Second, clarity of thoughts. Complexity, uncertainty will give you fear, unknown anxiety. What we need to do is listen, many perspectives, and then decide, do. And then you need to have confidence. Why? We have to control what we can control. Those that what we cannot control, what do? Pray about it. But more importantly, adapt, learn, and then react. So this is operational Sayang. And from stranger, we become good friends. And you can see that picture just now. Very quickly after other country called lockdown, our country is called circuit breaker. In circuit breaker, do you still remember where were you? At home, right? Yeah, I was running the dormitory operation. But we were preparing ahead. How to keep our nation fit, active, because that is the best resource for the protection. We did not really stop after circuit breaker. We opened, but remember from group of 5 to 2 to 10, 8, I also confused. I think all my staff are confused every day, but I just pretend that I look very confident. Many safe management measures changes, right? But the vision is very clear. How do we bring sports back? So we did not stop, but we control, put measures in our facility, as well as continue to do our National Day celebration of sports, our National Day through sports. So you can see the picture here, we still do our annual competition. The kids, this picture, I like it very much because they're not just the kids that love to play, everyone loves to play because there's an inner child in all of us. And remember, the kids are not vaccinated until very late. They cannot play indoor. What we do is to put basketball in a football field. Basketball in a football field. So that is place making, and that's a D shape here, and it becomes very popular. And remember, how many of you have visited the airport during circuit breaker and COVID? Nobody will visit, right? The tourist is out, but sports is in. So we bring yoga in Jewel. I even do bike exercise in Jewel. Have a National Day parade in Jewel. Wow, we own the world-class airport. It's a fantastic feeling doing sports in yoga and yoga at Jewel. Totally different. I want to thank the volunteers, thousands of volunteers, and the sport champions in Active SG for making this happen. Reimagine what we can do even through crisis. The second one is, of course, everyone know that we have to pivot to digital and Zoom and all those. Same thing, in order to do our outreach, we went into the virtual space. But more importantly, we think about how to create a capability. It's not about just virtual space, but how do we link physical with virtual capability, the branded approach. So when many people think that, oh, this cannot be done, that's where we try to push the boundary. Who were the most affected segment of people during COVID? The seniors, right? The seniors, very tough. After the whole COVID, I see my in-laws actually, they slow down a lot. So we are trying to reduce this decline of their slowdown because of that isolation. So we started, to the irony of all circumstances, a senior sports day right in the midst of COVID. So we use this branded approach, we give them equipment, we modify the sports, they compete and play at the activity center into the nursing home. So, but what we did was celebrating of National Day through sports. Besides just competing, everybody can play because you can modify the sports. What we have done is really sing our national anthem as well as take our pledge. Very simple things, right? National anthem and taking our pledge. Do you all do that in Singapore Poly every day? No lah. That's only in secondary school, right? But to my surprise, many of these seniors break down when they sing the national anthem and take the pledge. Why? Especially those that are in the nursing home. They have been isolated for very long, even before COVID. They felt that they were remembered, they felt they were appreciated. And we had 17,000 people joining us for this Senior Sports Day. And this year, we have 30,000. And we have modified the sports, and we are pushing into the community so that everybody can participate in sports, regardless of your life stages. And even, since we cannot go to Japan, we also do a bilateral exercise with the Japanese seniors because they are far ahead in the aging, active aging. So on the screen is a professor from Tsukuba University that where we collaborate. And then we do our exercise around our country, linked by connected. And now our seniors are doing bilateral exercise overseas. They cannot visit Japan, but we bring Japan to connect with them. How nice. In fact, I was hoping for sakura behind, but they tell me that actually sakura is only in touristy place, certain place. The second one is about the whole transformation. We took a whole ecological approach. It's quite complex, and because of time, I'll just share some key ideas here. Number one, different project name for this. First is about Etena, is about God of Wisdom, how we transform our organization into a data-driven, embracing digitalization and technology. Second one is about Project Diamond. Diamond because programming is the gem of our business. And why diamond? Because there are 4 angles. One, linking physical to virtual, interest-based to a segment strategy. And then how do we engage? And if Kurt is in the audience, he's the brainchild of this, not me. And Ikigai is a Japanese idea that we integrate both mission, passion, profession, and even your aspiration together. Basically, alignment and coherence. We reframe from training to learning. Then metanoia is the idea of change of hearts and mind. As public agents, we sometimes we concern with audit into our governance, but we have shifted into a value of stewardship. Stewardship of resources, our people, as well as the future. And cornerstone is about maintenance and also about engineering of our facility. And Umutu is an African idea. I am because we are. I'm going to use some of the concept and then share some example because I already see some sign that I need to speed up. First, about data-driven organization, how do we do that? So in Ops Sayang, we actually put in all the CCTV and try to do that operational control because of real reason, because proximity may increase the risk of COVID transfer. And we test that out, and once we pass through COVID, the crisis circuit breaker, Rahman, together with the team in six months, we set up a control center, but now we call it the integrated hub because it's about safety, security, operation, as well as service. So this is our expression of a data-driven organization with data analytics, CCTV, all the sensors, IoT from the back end, so that we can make not just human-centric decision, but business decision every day, every week, every month. And we will remodel our operation and the whole business concept. So we take a learning approach. And you need change agent. And a lot of time we do top-down, all right? And then you pass down the message, and then you need to do a lot of buy-in. But what we have done is really change agent at different level. So Takeaway is one of them. Using RPA, then because there's skin in the game, there's pain in the work, RPA help them to relieve that pain, the work. And after that, we do brown bag sessions so that it can spread the message of RPA and implementation even faster. On the right-hand side is my chief data analysis. Bernard, I'm not here, sure is here. Put out your hand if he's here. Right? He was an operational guy, but very quickly he learned about data analytics, and he applied the data analytics in context. A lot of time we employ talent from outside, but they do not know the business model that well. So we learn together, and of course we put in recognition, reframe the individuals. We call sport champion as everyone a leader, a learner, and an innovator. Learning is a key strategy. Like I mentioned, we put in the idea of mission, vocation, profession, passion together. But more importantly, how do we introduce workplace learning into our organization. Marry work and learn. Marry learning and work. I'll say a little bit more later. Learning partnership, knowledge creation, and then how to marry career pathway with learning pathway. This is one of the expressions. Since I'm in Singapore Poly, I must share some story about Singapore Poly. Very happy to partner the Media Arts Design School. And we use design thinking to solve one key problem that we have called the lifeguard chair. What is the problem with lifeguard chair? It became a disciplinary problem because lifeguard did not sit on the chair. But how many people ask the lifeguard, why did you not sit on the chair? Because the weather is hot, and after lunchtime, when you sit down, you fall asleep. Two key fundamental problems. So we put the problem, the real world problem, to our design thinker here, and then we come up with a lifeguard platform. I think this is the first in the world, right? And we have a solar panel, and they did the ideation, and then after that we prototype it 1 year, all right, as a tool for conversation. And now I'm happy to share it's out. The tender is out, and then we are doing mass equipping. So all the way from school into the community. The second one on the right is really about how we put real-world problem about how to engage our senior even better into the school space and then use their solution to test it in the real community space. And after that, we amplify our student effort because our students are our children. They are the future leaders of our country. In an aging population, what is key is that our kids have started to learn to have compassion, empathy for aging, and not have the stereotyping about ageism. All right? We talk about placemaking. So my system engineering team, Eric and Gabriel, were busy beside using technology like drone and underwater robots. We have converted less utilized space to sports space and for exercise and gym. And then you can see the walkway, the storerooms are converted to gym. And then even a walkway at Gramercy has been used to popular, we call square stepping exercise for the senior. Beside that, Umutu is about I am because we are, but more importantly, how do we enhance the experience of people? On the left-hand side is the old locker that everybody know, right? On the right-hand side is the partnership with F&N. A CEO of F&N is here. And Jaren is also here. And it give me a lot of assignment when I visit them. How then can we make vending machine to enhance the utility of vending machine? So basically, we have one brain, but many hands. So on the right-hand side is the latest design by Jennifer and Jaren and team on the lockers. But the possibility is unimaginable because it can be food and drinks, goods delivery, and other services. All right. So we are going to test bed this into our sports center. So this is innovation through partnership. Finally, I want to share is that when we do our transformation, how do we do culture building? So I have a colleague, Kristen. She calls herself people culture builder, but I call her the Mao Zedong because she's doing cultural revolution. So we have a strategy on this. First thing, to make our culture fun and meaningful. Basically, how do we celebrate vocational skills? Sometimes vocational skills, if you do over for a long time, it can be very, very boring. All right? But how do we engage them so that the sense of mastery as well as showcase of their vocational skills? The second one is the culture of family and team. Recognizing them, amplifying their effort, and then of course engagement, not just the staff, but as well as the family. And the final one is about culture of innovation and collaboration. In short, we call this FM111. Fun, meaningful, one family, one team, one active edgy for our nation. Why FM111? Because FM is about radio station. The highest frequency for radio station is 108. Right? Only in active edgy you cannot see, but you can feel FN111. So in short, I want to share 3 key takeaways. In crisis, we do not just react. We need to reflect. More importantly, reframe. And not just design thinking, but redesign the way that we think about things. Second, in order to do design thinking, system thinking, or change management, start with 3C: compassion, clarity of thoughts, and confidence. And finally, is putting people right at the core. The Chinese say, 以人为本, 以德为先. In short, it means put people at the core, put values at the front. And finally, I want to say is put the hearts at the right place, the system will be in place. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Hoklin. You know, when I was listening to Dawn and Hoklin, it reminds me of what we do in school. You know, the power of strategic storytelling. And that's exactly what they do. They talk about different stories of human experiences. So thank you so much. It is truly inspiring to see how Active SG turned the pandemic into opportunities to transform itself and continue to serve people from all walks of life. So now I'm going to be looking for that 30,000 seniors doing sports, right? That was really inspiring. Yet again, it demonstrates that crisis is both an opportunity and a chance for an even greater things. On that high note, it is time for a 20-minute tea break. To digest everything that we've heard, take a breather, mingle, and grab tea and coffee, and then we will resume again at 10:25. At this time, may I please ask PCO, His Excellency, and our distinguished guests to please head out and have your tea and enjoy, and then we can give some moment before the rest of you join in. Please come back because there are 4 more equally interesting speakers. Think Irvin's salted egg. All right, that's a personal favorite snack. And there are goodies after lunch. So stay back and we'll see you again at 10:25. Welcome back, everyone. I understand there was a little bit of a challenge just now during the tea break. We apologize for that. But we can assure you during lunchtime that all those buffet lines are going to be filled up and working for you. So save up for a beautiful lunch laid out for you later. We have 4 more interesting speakers to hear from today. Just during the break, I was talking to this next speaker. He was part of the Scale Up program, and he was sent to Wharton School of Business. And he was telling me, he said, Emma, you know, in Wharton, after every speaker, the students will have to assess the speaker whether they did so well or not. So I told him, we're not doing it here. Okay, but we are happy to have him here. Our next speaker is Mr. Irvin Yuga Gunawan. Irvin is the founder and CEO of Cocoba Private Limited, which is more known to us as Irvin's Salted Egg, a personal favorite snack, if I may say. Founded in 2007, Cocoba Private Limited started off as a seafood restaurant business before evolving into manufacturing and retail of salted egg snacks under the brand name of Irvin's Salted Egg. It opened its first pop-up store in Singapore in 2015 and now has presence in over 12 countries globally, including USA, UK, and Australia. It is managed by 3 brothers, Ivan, Irvin, and Irchan Hasaka Yuga Gunawan. All its products are made in Singapore. This is truly a homegrown brand. Irvin plays the guitar, enjoys sports and adventure. Irvin's topic is designing commercial success, the role of design, and other secrets behind a uniquely Singapore commercial success story. Without further ado, I give you Irvin.
Hi, good morning, everyone. morning, distinguished guests. And thank you so much for SP, my friends in SP as well for inviting. I'm very privileged. Before I start, right, I want to greet our friends who came here from overseas first. I was told there is a group from Philippines. Can you wave your hands if you're from Philippines? So our Philippines customers are the craziest customers. I tell you, it's the first country that we expand to as well, and we opened a store over there in SM Mega Mall in Manila. At the opening time, there's this girl wearing the Irvin's shirt, right? And she was there 1 hour before the mall opened, and she was just waiting there, you know. And when, you know, at the time of the opening, there was a bunch, there's already a line. So I think, you know, the Filipinos are really crazy about our products, and they were just, you know, just super happy about us being there. And when they opened the door, this girl like ran all the way from the door to our store, like high-fiving everyone. Like, you know, I'm just like, what's happening here? Another story. I was telling our fans about, you know, we have a new product here. We have salmon skin with cheese. You know, it's no longer salted egg; it's with cheese. And then they're like the Filipinos is like, this is how they react, like, wow, you know, wow, like this is the best day of my life. This is so great. You know, I'm like, okay, chill, guys, chill. This is just a food, you know. So I love my Filipino friends. You know, they are the most enthusiastic customers, and that's why we opened in Philippines first. We also have a lot of Indonesian customers. Yeah, who is here from Indonesia? I want to greet you guys. Yeah. So. The Indonesians always ask me this: why are you not yet open in Indonesia? So this is the story behind that question. We are actually there. Like 5 years ago, I set up not just an office. I had an office. I had a warehouse. I had a factory in Indonesia, in Jakarta, in Bitung. So we set up everything. At that time, couldn't get the import license yet, but you know, so I decided, hey, you know what? Rather than waiting for this takes a long time. Let's make it in Indonesia, same recipe, use a different brand name. So we created this brand called Keke in Indonesia, and I opened booths in Taman Anggrek and all these malls. Right, I set up a team and everything. It totally bombed. It didn't work, and everyone is like coming to our booth. Is like, this is good, but this is not as good as Irvin's. You know, I really want Irvin's, and I'm like, this is exactly the same thing. You know, this is the same thing. So I realized from then, it's really hard to compete with the brand that is already on the top of the mind of people, right? So we competed against ourselves and we lost. Yeah. So yeah. So that's the story for Indonesia. Friends from Thailand, may I get a raise of hands? Okay. This is a true story from Thailand. At that time, when I was just starting, we were just having not even this much, but it was just like a tub, right? We're selling in the restaurant and all these things. There was a lot of good response. I come to Bangkok to meet Top Thai Khoi Noi. I was literally there to actually sell him this product. This is you know, my plan was, hey, Thai Khoi Noi, I love Thai Khoi Noi. You know, my parents said, well, you should work with Thai Khoi Noi, and you know, they have the facilities, they can produce the product for you guys. So I came to Top's office, which is near Changwatana there. Waited for 1 hour for him, and then eventually he came with his big car and all that. So I said hello, give him the snacks, you know, this, hey, this is our new thing, you know, in Singapore, it's quite happening and all that. So I gave it to him, and then he walked by, and then he you know, got into his office, and I left, you know, like excited, like, hey, Top is gonna like this, and we're gonna do something. Nothing happened. Nothing happened after that. Yeah, but you know, thankfully that nothing happened. Otherwise, this would be called like Thai Konai salted egg. So you know, yeah, I think Thailand is a really great in terms of the food development, and in the food industry is so advanced. They have so many different snacks, and you know, it's a country that I love going to as well. We have a store in Central World, and yeah. So it's really great as well to, you know, we have some we work with suppliers over there as well, including the fish skin suppliers, salted egg and things like that. It's one of those countries, like I really learned a lot when I go to over there, and you know, we want to learn from how Thailand develops its food products. Okay, so this is the thing that I want to share with you guys today. Our story, like a lot of people ask, is it by luck or actually by design? So when people ask me this, I actually share to them, it's because we are blessed. Okay, we are blessed, and you know, this is me being honest. If I look back the past 10 years of my life, you know, raising this business, I see basically God's hands is everywhere. But we are not going to go into that today, because this is a non-religious conference. So I'm gonna say some of it is by design, because we did some smart things along the way. Okay, and today I'm gonna share with you some of the things that we actually did along the way to get to us where we are today. Okay, so there are three phases of Irvins. The first is a restaurant, and not many people know this, but we had a restaurant in River Valley. That's from 2008 to 2014. Yeah, a lot of people know the story how we evolved from a restaurant to become a local snack startup. Right, the next stage when we had that snacks, and it was very popular, and we were opening pop-ups. This is 2014, 2017. The third phase is when we actually made the deliberations. We gotta develop our business outwards and internationalize. So I call this the phase 3 global food startup. Food, not snacks, because we along the way we actually had things that is not snacks as well. We had the sauce, we had the collaborations with Nissin, which, by the way, you guys should really try, because it's really good. We are so proud of it. So, what are the? I'm just going to give you some simple 3 things that I thought was very crucial in helping us, you know, go along the way. So the first was a change of packaging. So initially, when we were just doing in this restaurant, and even in the initial first year of pop-ups, we were selling it in the tubs like this. So it's just a tub, and we bought this from Chinatown, right? So just from any store. I just put a sticker on that. The problem with this tub, right, is that when you buy it, it will be expired within 1 month. If you open it, it will become really oily after like 2 weeks. It's not great. It's not great. Okay. Same thing with the small pouch. See, the problem with this kind of pouches, transparent ones, is affected by air. It's affected by sun as well. So it is actually damaged the product. So we got what we did was we developed the next generations of packaging for us. So that's how we got to know FIRC. And I want to introduce you guys to FIRC, which is a Food Innovation Resource Center here, based in SP here, just next building. They've been a really good friend, and I really enjoyed working with them. So I came to them with the challenge, you know, hey, we want to develop a new packaging for this, because we dislike the quality after a few weeks of this old packaging. So they looked at all the, we did like maybe about a 1 year project to develop the new pouch, but that new pouch has all the what they call barriers in order to protect the food. And we eventually got a 1 year shelf life. 1 year because also we inject the nitrogen inside, not oxygen. So we got a 1 year shelf life, and that's actually really huge, because suddenly you don't have just like, if imagine you're from Indonesia or from Philippines or Thailand, you want to buy our products. By the time you bring it back home, it's already like oily and all these things. But with this new pouch, we can bring it back. You still have time to give it to your friends and all these things. So this is so-called like the tipping point for us, from going from just a local, local product kind of thing to become an international. Yeah. I really love, by the way, working with FIRC, and I really encourage everyone who's in the food business to work with them. To the point, eventually, I actually stole one of their stuff. Yeah, but I asked permission first, Yeah. Okay, so the second thing that we did was a change of location. The photo on the left, by the way, is actually my sister-in-law. So she, at the beginning of our big business, as you can see, it's really everything is bootstrapped, and we would design everything. Everything is from IKEA, by the way. So simple. Yeah, she and my brother Irchan and myself would take turns to man the store. This is actually in Tanjung Pagar MRT, if anyone's seen this. Yeah, and the lesson in this is that, I think when you're starting a business, right, make sure your family gets married to a good partner, because they can be valuable employees, Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I remember last time when I was just starting in the garage, right? The interview process is like, you got an arms and a leg, yeah, okay, you can work. Yeah, okay, it's not. I mean, it's just exaggeration, but okay. Eventually, we said, we after 1 year with the pop-ups moving around, we actually made the pouch, and you can see the transition. The next time we actually took our bet, hey, let's open up a store, and we chose Vivo City because one of our favorite mall. And this was the catalyst, I think, from us. In Tanjung Pagar or Raffles Place, we would get a lot of this office workers, customers, but in Vivo City we are getting a lot of tourists. So that's how like after 6 months of this, like then you start to get the buzz in the Philippines. The Filipinos start to know about us and everything. So this was again a crucial piece when we want to internationalize. I think the location of where you're selling it really matters, right? And then eventually, of course, we open up in the airport, which is another step towards that direction. Like funny story, when at the beginning when we were doing this Vivo store, at that time, if everyone remembers, like we don't really have a lot of we basically run out of stock quite often. So we have this maximum 5 limit. So I remember this because I was manning the store as well. Like there are some people from overseas, right? Indonesians and the Filipinos. I remember them. So they would buy 5 and then they would go like, just hide and like change the, glasses and wear some, hat or something like that and go back. Yeah, that's a true story, by the way. Another change of thing that we experience is actually in the COVID period. It was a really tough period for us, as you can imagine, being a brand that is heavily in the store model. And we open in Philippines as well, it's a store model. In the COVID period, that business is gone. So it was really a tough period for us. But we took that, we didn't just stay still. We had to do something in order to sustain the business. So we eventually became more open to working with partners. And in this case, the first few that we engaged was Cold Storage, 7-Eleven, Fair Price in Singapore. The online marketplaces, Lazada, Shopee, Redmart. We switched our channel of operating from the stores to the modern trade and online. And you can see this one is from Jewel. Same thing in Philippines. We told our distributor, the store is just not working anymore. Can you get us into SNR lenders? So that's what they did. And today, I'm very proud to say we are much more diversified in where we sell. So we are no longer in the risk of just a single channel kind of what happens if this happens again, or things like that. So we are very proud. Right now we are selling in Costco in the USA, which is not an easy channel to get into. So again, the same story. So I want to conclude in saying this. Basically, as you can see, just a very few examples, right? But you can see how the company did not stand still. I mean, I wish I can tell you guys just make a good product and for the next 20 years you'll be okay. But the fact is the world is changing, and you gotta change with it as well. There are so many examples of food brands, especially. It's just I cannot name them here, but they are so famous one day, and then 1 year later or 3 years later, their name is gone. Why? Because they don't embrace that change. They are this might be like some old gen hawker or something like that, but they never took the step to actually modernize what they do. So actually, we are extremely proud today that we are still operating and growing until today. It's because of that reason that we actually used that. We had that great platform of the boom or the salted egg trend, but we didn't stay still. We continually evolved along the way. So I want to encourage everyone. I think when it comes to terms of the design, you guys and all of us, whether you do in business or not, we can design our lives to be better, to be improved. Some of the things I think includes, for example, you can design how you actually spend your day, what time you wake up in the morning. Because I really like nowadays is waking up really early in the morning, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, to have that time to spend exercising and doing my emails. Another example is that you can design your life in such a way that you make sure you surround yourself with really good people. I feel I've benefited that a lot when I joined the Scale Up group project by the Enterprise Singapore. So these are some of the things that I think we can really design in our individual lives. So last thing here, phase 4. So for Irvins, there is a phase 4. And what is that phase 4 is, I call it the post-COVID world, because the world has changed so much. And the question is, how do we pivot into this new era? So if people are interested, I'll give you the answer in the next DTUX. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thank you, Irvin. I also have an Irvin salted egg story, but this is about a crazy Filipino mother who visited me before COVID, and when she got settled in the house, she took from her bag a package of Irvin salted egg, and I told her, I said, "Mom, we have Irvin salted egg. It's made in Singapore. He said, but you don't have to queue, right? So she probably was in SM Mega Mall when you first opened. She's probably there. I was listening to Irvin, and it was really an inspiring story. In our school, you know, he was promoting FIRC just now. So I'd also like to promote our Business Innovation Center. And there are a lot of centers. In fact, I invite you in October 18 to 20, there is an what's this, ITAP, right? Industrial Transformation Asia Pacific in Expo, where we will be featuring most of our centers, innovation centers here in SP, where we will feature some of these projects and our capabilities. You know, in business school, we have a business innovation center, and just this past semester, we work with 35 clients from across industries. Our students are truly embracing design thinking as part of our methodology, but not just design thinking. In fact, later on, our speaker will talk about technology. We also use robotics process automation, digitization, design thinking, dashboarding, and all that. So come to FRIC, come to Business Innovation Center, come to all our schools, because we are here to support the industry. All right, is that enough plugging? Our next speaker also deserves a bang-on welcome. For one, he is an SP alumnus who embodies the kind of SP graduates that we are so proud of. Do you know that we have 280,000 plus of them and counting? This SP alumnus has not forgotten his SP roots and continues to give back to the SP community. Most recently, he joined the school advisory board of our School of Chemical Life Sciences, or CLS. He is a great believer of lifelong learning. He leads the senior management team in upskilling themselves by taking on SP specialist diplomas and regularly attend workshops here in SP. Our next speaker is Marcus Neo, is the founder and chief executive officer of OmniPlus System, or OPS. It is under his able leadership that OmniPlus made history in June last year when it became the first Singapore company to be publicly listed in the Tokyo Stock Exchange. And it now registers revenues of $318 million US dollars. OPS also embarked on a company workforce transformation with SP, which even culminated with a student final project with our School of Business Human Resource Diploma students. And that was my project, that was my class too. So I'm very, very proud. Marcus' topic is designing enterprise transformations by leveraging on human capital and external collaboration. It is with great pleasure that I introduce to you our SP partner, Marcus Neo.
Thank you, Emma, for the great introduction. Okay, good morning, distinguished guests and fellow participants and students. Okay, it is indeed a great honor for me to be invited as a guest speaker for the Singapore Polytechnic DTUX in the presence of all the alumni. Okay, and well, when Emma invited me to speak for this event, without any hesitation, I agree. Okay, I hope today my sharing will inspire you and become a launchpad for your future growth for some of you. Okay, so thank you very much. Yeah. So I will try to share my journey on the design enterprise transformation by leveraging on development human capital and the external collaboration, which is very important. Okay, just a very quick intro of myself. I'm a graduate from SP in 1984 in the Department of Chemical Process Technology, the predecessor of CLS. So CPT, last time we called it, you know, the Hokkien word CP2. So that is the term that we are. So the company is founded in 2002. We have since grown from a 2-headcount company in Singapore to having presence in over 9 countries globally. And I'm happy to share that we are celebrating the 20 years anniversary this year. So maybe a very quick run on my career. So Singapore Polytechnic is where I learned my hard score, and I start the the business career working in a Japanese trading company, followed by a French petrochemical company. And through this journey of working, I actually enjoy very much working with global technology customers who are looking for polymer solution. Okay, in the CLS people, maybe you will know what is a polymer. So it's basically plastics, right, in the layman term. Through this interaction with the global customer, that I face many challenges to actually offer my customer due to the limited company offering. So what did I did? So in 2002, I decided that I need to address the market by providing an end-to-end solution and fill up the market gaps and satisfy the customer needs. That is very important. So all this, you need to understand the nature, how to actually create such a business. And during that time, by understanding the industry, OPS itself, or me and together with some like-minded people, we actually pioneer this, provide this supply chain solution and this value-added service to all the multinational with some sort of material customization. And earlier, Don has actually mentioned, there's a lot of design center in Singapore, okay, by the global company. This form a very good platform for us to interact, collaborate with them. And this is actually how ideas is created and how actually OPS is actually created also. And then, of course, throughout the journey, we have worked with them and we get collaboration from all the industry experts, including Singapore Polytechnics, Enterprise Singapore. Okay? So what we're going to do is not possible if you do not have partners. So collaboration is important. And from here, we actually not only do our own internal manufacturing, we actually cooperate with a manufacturing partner, not locally, but globally also. And we also set up an engineering center in Singapore to work together with our global customer that has R&D in Singapore so that we can collaborate a lot of design work together with them. And of course, as what I mentioned, we have worked out with Singapore Poly on certain aspects, but we also engage other institute of higher learning to collaborate and do certain design, not only in Singapore, but also overseas. So as myself, I also take up certain PhD course overseas, so that actually to get into the global science community, so that we can actually do a better collaboration. So what is the business about? Okay. Actually, in a nutshell, it's very simple. It's basically focused on 3 main areas: supply, demand, and fulfillment. This is a B2B platform. So we are doing only these 3 things, and we want to do very good in it. But of course, there's many wheels in between that we have to find. So what we do is actively engage in this materials R&D with our global customers. Work closely with the top polymer producer. Very important in terms of collaborating of supply. Now we are talking not only locally. Singapore basically has a very small manufacturing capability due to our land size, our people. Okay, we have to make use of whatever the neighbor has. And we also provide the fulfillment service to their contract manufacturers and the molders globally. And here we have a very good basic structure. We have a very good financial hub, shipping hub, logistics support. So basically we can ship everywhere, anytime. And then we can also ship in anytime also to do the consolidation. So typically, let me explain the whole process of this manufacturing. When we talk about consumer electronics design, we basically has to involve prototyping, risk management, regulation, and also compliance, okay? And then followed by all this mass production. So important thing is we have to start from the beginning of any product design. We engage very closely with the initial stage of the design of a product. And some of the product that you all are using, like the mobile phone, all this, or vacuum cleaner, actually in way before they are launched, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, we are already working with them on all these materials requirement. So actively involved together with the design team, and not only the design team, the engineering team, that we have to make sure that we pass all the regulatory compliance, okay? And also we have to work also very closely with the procurement team. And after that, the whole supply chain. So how the development process is from very start to the very end, the fulfillment portion. So like we basically has to cross a lot of these discipline to understand the whole process. And internally ourselves, we have to know what we are doing. We have to focus. So material categorization is a very important. We basically has to understand all the regulatory requirement and get involved in forming this policy. So by understanding and creating this policy, it actually create a better competitive advantage, for the industry. And definitely, a very important part is by forming all this policy, doing this design work, go back to customer needs. When customer needs is important, and we need to understand also the regulatory needs. So this hardcore technical skill, where did I come from? Actually, it's from Polytechnic. So there's a lot of things that we learn, all the hardcore aspect from the Polytechnics. And so coming to Poly actually changes some sort of, the work life for me. Because I have a choice to go to A-level and coming to Poly. So the purpose coming to Poly, actually the lecturer treat us more like an adult, young adult, rather than, just a student. So over here, you are able to actually do a collaboration with lecturer and help you to better equip yourself, your EQ skill, especially when you go up to the working life. So this is something that I want to emphasize on. Okay, now coming back to all the business challenges. I mean, we talk about the simple process of business, but there's a lot of challenge when you start a business. So obstacle, I think Erwin, we are in the same skill up team. So I think getting talents is one of the very big challenge. Getting funding, especially when you are startup, getting funding is also a big challenge. And one more is getting connected. Okay, without this connection, you will not be able to collaborate. So experience and motivated manpower to share the vision with the founder, that is the key to the success of any business. Okay, so this is all the business challenging that we are finding. But I mean, going through these 20 years of this business life, so we found that the business model is matured. It cannot be created overnight. The industry has to accept it. So how to endorse our success is we went for IPO to publicize all this process flow to get so-called recognition by the global business community. So to actually able to sell more of this business idea to our others, these colleagues. There's so many issues that when we create a business, it will always encounter. So how to select and prioritize, minimize the risk, optimize the success and opportunity. We have go through from the year we started in 2002. In fact, OPS itself, we have founded during the SARS crisis. I think a lot of people, the older generation will know about SARS. Very similar to the COVID, but we contained it earlier. So we went to the SARS crisis, we went to the dot-com bust, we go to the Lehman financial crisis. Any crisis you mention, every 4 or 5 years you will have a crisis. So that builds the mentality of what we have is 居安思危 that I always mention most of the time to all the friends and colleagues. So the meaning of 居安思危 is be prepared for crisis in time of peace. And basically, I'm a strong believer how to overcome. Basically, learning is the best hedge for this slogan. So by learning and collaborating. So I do not want to, still very short, I only have 2 minutes left. So I want to go to how we build this inertia of our process, which is the key I want to share with you, and taking advantage of this pandemic downtime to build our human capital. So for us to sustain the growth, what we need to is we actually engage Enterprise Singapore and join the Skill Up program. Together with like-minded people, we plan a very aggressive growth plan, but in a sustainable way, because you cannot keep on growing and growing without a strategy. So we went there to do strategy planning and to see how actually we can actually start our growing plan. And by luck or by design, I'm not very sure, but we did the program just before, completed most part of it before COVID-19. So when COVID-19 hit us, we are well prepared for it. And the need for working while maintaining productivity, we have all these systems set up. Every one of our staff is equipped with notebooks, home printers, everyone, and they can actually start from work. The only person, 2% that actually work in the office is myself and my pay accounts, so that everybody will still get paid when during COVID time. And for me, I'm actually the one doing all the paperwork, photostating everyone. If somebody do not have paper or delivery service, I'm the only one. So be prepared that you want to be the boss, you have to be from A to Z. Okay? And we have manpower shortage in the industry. So all this boils down to the training and analysis. This is actually SP help us in a lot of aspect of it. So what did we do? We leverage and empower our staff. This is a very important human capital centric approach, okay? We identify every pain point of our own internal employee, and then addressing the gaps through critical conversation and agile thinking. And also, we champion change in OPS, okay? Be open-minded, driving collaboration across level and department. This one, I think the Emma group does us a very good training. Basically, they went through a very deep study together with their industrial partner to help us to identify all these gaps. And example of one of these important thing about this company need analysis and upskilling of our staff. In order to make our paperwork more streamlined and our workflow more streamlined, okay? So we actually has an internally created system called Octopus, okay? Basically, it's an OPS automation system. And that helps us to actually minimize or speed up our turnaround time. And very important, like earlier I've mentioned, is to leverage the technology for a meaningful collaboration. So without sharing data, there's no meaning on it. So we work around with like Team or even Zoom and Share Drive, Google Drive, everything, whatever we can get hold of the technology, we do it, and that create actually a better traceability. So we actually went from a paperwork base during the crowd period and went to this crowd base. Actually, during this downtime period, we speed up all our digitization. And of course, another approach to SP that actually helped us to create all this. So all the collaboration party that without this would not be possible. Singapore Poly, and then on our government support, we have actually asked our staff to go up to the this learning hub to learn all the available skill in a very, very valuable way. The company do not have to pay up a lot of money. During the time, I think they open up more or less is free of charge. And then we also work with technology partners like A-Star that help us to actually scale up. Okay, so happy to tell everyone that during the COVID, B2B business, we actually did a better growth. That is the situation. We have a year-by-year growth of 25%. So it must be a sustainable growth, not just during this COVID. So we are going to implement more of this, after COVID, post-COVID. We want to carry on the growth. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Marcus. Thank you, Marcus. It's so reassuring to hear when a business leader walks the talk on investing in human capital to power its transformation. I first met Marcus late 2018 when I facilitated the human capital diagnostic assessment of OmniPlus. And I remember very, very distinctly what he said to me. He said, Emma, I'm employee number 1. And employee number 1 to 10 are still here with us. They are loyal to us. Which is interesting because this is a good lead up to our next speaker, which is another homegrown brand. Our next speaker, Mr. Roy Tan, is the general manager of Eichmock Paints and Chemical Private Limited. Roy joined his family business in 2004 as part of the succession planning, having been groomed and placed in different management roles of key departments in the company. Roy manages all operations and business groups within Eichmock. On top of this, he is also in charge of the 7 overseas offices for Eichmock within Southeast Asia. He also takes part in the strategic planning, driving new business developments to further growth. Under his guidance, Eichmock has grown to a $100 million company and has won several awards, which includes Enterprise 50 Award for 6 years since 2008, SME 1000 Awards for 5 years, and UOB Digital Leap Awards in 2019, among others. Roy holds an MBA degree from University of Strathclyde in the UK. Roy's topic is redesigning work processes through digital transformation. Over to you, Roy.
Good morning, everyone. It was nice to be back on stage. The last time I was here probably 2.5 years ago with so many faces in front of me. So I'm a little bit nervous now, but hope I get over it towards the end of the presentation. Right. Frankly, I was sitting there listening to the presenters. Not so sure why I was placed towards the end of it, so probably all of you are falling asleep soon, especially after Irvin's and getting your appetite up. I'm in the chemical line. I'm definitely sure I will kill off all your appetites that you might have. But I was looking forward to Irvin's potato chips actually at a snack time, but it didn't come. But lunch hour is still 1 hour away. Maybe Irvin can make some last-minute adjustment to it. Okay, but anyway, jokes aside, my name is Roy. I'm from Eichmock Paints and Chemicals. Same thing like Marcus, a Singapore homegrown company. Can I show of hands how many of you heard about Eichmock before? A few? Okay, good. We're in the B2B business. I'm sure everyone heard of Irving's, but not Eichmock. Okay, with that, a bit of overview about my company first. As mentioned just now, we are 100 plus million Sing dollar by turnover. We have 140 staff across Southeast Asia, but 100 of them actually based in Singapore. Okay, we operate factories, manufacturing factories, warehouse. We have total presence in 5 of them, 5 factories. And interestingly, 3 factories is actually based in Singapore. And we just actually built one just during the COVID years. So interestingly for us, despite the challenges that we face, especially in Singapore for manufacturing, Egmore anchors ourselves heavily in Singapore. And in fact, we are talking about further expansion in Singapore because of the growth and demand that we see for our services and products. Okay, toll blending, which also means contract manufacturing for formulated chemicals. We produce about 3,000 metric ton of products a month. Just to draw into context, if you know Olympic swimming pool, not the ones that you have in condos, but the Olympic size one. The Olympic size swimming pool is 2,500 metric ton of water. So that's the amount of chemicals that we produce out from factory. And happy to say 90% of it actually comes out from Singapore. Okay, our vision, very simple. We are still Southeast Asia focused. We are a chemical distributor, but at the same time, we do a lot of value-adding contract manufacturing services. The whole value chain of logistics, because in Singapore, we are trained to do everything ourselves. So we want to be the entire value chain of chemicals. Okay. Right. Maybe a bit about us. Unfortunately, I don't have my name in the product like Irvin, so hopefully not that you see my name on the chemical drum, but okay, as mentioned just now, I'm 46 years old, born in the year of 1976, which makes me a dragon, okay, a year of the dragon. I graduated actually on electrical engineering, nothing to do with chemicals. And actually, I gave up chemicals long ago in secondary schools. And it was remarkable that I joined a family business of chemicals. Okay, I was actually forced to join, so it's not by choice. I was talking to Marcus just now. I was telling him some tricks to con the next generation to come in. So I actually am not interested in chemicals before I joined Egmore, okay, to be frank. So I was working outside in a telecommunication company, the largest in Singapore. You probably guess who is it, for about 4 to 5 years. I remember there was a breakfast that I had with my father. I said I was taking leave today because I was going for interview for other jobs. My father said, by afternoon, you better come to my office for another interview. And that's how I ended up in Egmore. Okay, my job title now is GM. Okay, I have many titles. I think I started off as executive officer, and no one knows exactly what I do or what I'm supposed to do myself. Then people give me a title of Asiakia. You have chairman's son. You have a whole lot of titles that was given to me, labeled by different generation. But end up now, I'm the GM. But frankly, I am like the CFO. But I think for family business people who work in family business, you know that means that I firefighting everywhere. I could be talking to a customer of $1 million deal in the morning, and then in the afternoon, someone called me and said the toilet bowl is stuck. Do I actually get a plumber or we solve the toilet bowl ourselves? So that's the kind of job that I have. Okay, let me go to the context of the presentation today, and I'm going to share with you the journey that we had, especially on this digitization focus. But just a point to also add on, I was only given the title of my presentation 2 days ago when my slides is ready. So I'm trying to adjust. I don't have a speech with me because I torn it off. I was actually in Malaysia on Tuesday. I was writing it, and when the title was given to me, I tore it off, and I'll just say whatever I want over here. Okay, so we started in 1980, so we are 42 years old, double the age of OPS by Marcus. So we started off actually as a paint shop, which is the reason why the company name still have Egmore Paints and Chemicals. These 2 pictures are very rare because these are the only ones left in the 1980s. There's a lion dance on the second picture at the bottom. My father always tell me, you're somewhere there, that's why you're fated to take over. But till today, he couldn't tell exactly where am I inside that picture. So I think that's one way to con your children to come in as well. Okay, so obviously, through the 42 years of evolution and growth or transformation, whatever words that you want to use, definitely there are a lot of ups and downs, okay? I'll not go through every one of them, but we'll just zoom into the last few years that what we see before our digitization. Around 1990, we actually give up our paints business, our paint distribution business. We used to be involved in that. If you see some of the older neighborhood, some of the, what we call 五金店, all this kind of hardware shop, you still see some of that. That's how we started off at Jalan Besar. The curry rice there, if you know where is it, we're actually opposite it. So we anchor ourselves in 1990 around chemical distribution, catching on the wave of industrialization of Singapore back then. So chemical demand went up, a lot of factories was being built, and we definitely do a lot of chemical distribution, and that growth sort of helped us to buy factories. But around year 2000, we start to see a problem. Obviously, I haven't joined AMOR back then, but the problem is that internet has opened up, informations are flowing too quickly, prices has become very transparent. The suppliers know when, will tell us that, oh, you quickly increase your price, but by the time we hit the market, the customers already realize ahead of you, in fact, sometimes. So that actually squeezed the margin drastically. And that means that the distribution business becomes tougher and tougher, okay? And of course, new players started to come in, 3PL, warehouse. It's very easy for people to go into any distribution business. By year 2003, another bad news hit us, and that is because of the cost that goes up drastically in Singapore, factories are moving out, and obviously we sell chemicals to factories. If the factories are moving out, who are we going to sell to? Okay, we can keep our costs low, we can be as efficient as we can do whatever we can within the company, but if the customers are leaving Singapore, we can't do anything about it. So that's when we do a lot of contract blending. I will have 2 more slides later on what is contract blending, but basically this means OEM manufacturing for formulated chemicals. Similar like Foxconn doing for Apple phones, we do for formulated chemicals for big, medium-sized companies that doesn't want to own their factories and they have the recipe or the formula, and we sort of add those things together, forming some reaction through the process. So in 2005, we decided to anchor ourselves into services, and we thought maybe it is good to, besides selling the chemicals, go into the services as well. Okay, and that helps us in a certain way to protect some of our volume and our businesses. But I think if you know any SME, if you start to evolve yourself, problems start to come in. And when we have more and more customers coming, the whole kitchen of ours, which is our factories, becomes messy, okay? So if for Irvin's point of view, don't cook too many things within the same kitchen, and that you'll probably face the same problem that I had. Okay, so to draw a reference of how contract manufacturing makes sense or in Singapore, so imagine you have a US-based oil and gas company. They are experienced in US, and you know US is a big oil and gas production country, an export country. So they have good products, they have good servicing, and they want a contract maybe in Indonesia with their products and their services. And typically they fly their engineers over, they train a team of people. But when it comes to the chemicals that they need to use within the oil field or within the refinery, they usually prefer to ship it in from US because that's their proprietary formulation that they wish to protect, okay? So it needs to be shipped all the way from US. Before the pandemic, probably 2 to 3 months to reach here because it's dangerous good. You can't go by air, and it's probably too costly to go by air. But after this COVID, who knows? It will probably take 4 to 6 months even. Okay, so but the problems faced by the US customers in shipping them out, of course, you have long shipment time, you have tax duty involved sometimes in countries like Indonesia. You have to hold a long inventory because your whole lead time of supply chain is very long. And sometimes formulation need to change because the composition of the oil change. And by the time you adjust your formulation, you actually have 3 months worth of shipments is along the way. And that's a long inventory that you need to hold and maybe have to write off eventually. Okay, of course then the question is why in Singapore? I think IP protection here is good. We have a good framework. The legal system is able to protect any kind of violation of formulation. We have an efficient port. Moving things here is good. The Singapore brands is still trustworthy, so typically, at least countries around here, when they see made in Singapore, they still kind of like it. And of course, we have all this free trade agreement that the government has been signing. So these are some of the reasons that people might choose a place in Singapore, and even after COVID, we still see a lot of this opportunity coming in, but maybe for different reasons like the geopolitics between China, US, for example, and of course the supply chain reasons which compounded after the COVID-19. Okay, so as our volume grows, whole lot of problems came up for us. Okay, so I'm sharing some of this. In fact, these are the more prominent one that I see. I will not go into the details, I'll just flash through quickly. We have a distributor and manufacturing mindset adjustment that we had to overcome, and it was a very difficult change. You can imagine last time we were a distributor, we close our door, we don't need to worry about how we cook our things inside. But then as a toll blender, people want to see how you prepare your goods, okay? Which means your workers' mindset has to change, the whole process has to change, you can't hide mistakes that you make. You have to be open and transparent. The different requirements from different customers in terms of packagings, in terms of labels, in terms of what they want their finished good to be. The stock items, the amount of raw materials that we handle, the compounded many, many times. And to a certain extent, we can't optimize anymore because our customers have the final decision how much volume he wants to make. And we can't decide for them because I can say my tank is 5,000 liter, but they say, sorry, I only want 3,000 liter. So optimization becomes a challenge by itself. Contamination, different products that we are making for different customers, how you make sure that you don't mix them up or contaminate them, you didn't clean the tanks clean enough or the drums clean enough. The different hazardous class, for those in chemicals, you know they come in different class of chemicals, of hazardous class, and if you don't mix them properly or you put them side by side and if there's a leakage, accidents can happen. We can't forecast our inventory now because our forecast depend on customers' forecast, and customers never give a right forecast. And when they put in an order, they always want it tomorrow or they want it yesterday even. We have formulation that we want to manage for customers. They want to be assured that you don't leak it out, you don't somehow leave it on the table and then someone took it, and then because that's their proprietary information, and that could be millions of dollars. And as we expand, we build too many blending tanks, too many workers at the same time working in the same place, mistakes are made. And how to control that process, and you can imagine every single product is different. We are making the same thing the same day, and it's impossible to even plan and forecast next month because you don't know what orders you will get. And you can't optimize by putting the same class of product together, for example, because you don't know what the customer need tomorrow, and you have to really plan based on real-time basis. And in fact, we also don't know how to charge our customer because making products can take different amount of time and difficulty, and sometimes down to the waste disposal as well. And because every single product is different, it's very difficult to actually gauge how to charge the customer. Okay, so we know we make a lot of mistakes. The team and I, when I just joined probably about 2-3 years back then, all problems come to me because they know that I'm electrical engineering trained, so I'm IT savvy, so you solve the problem. So I went out, I talked to big software company. I went to Oracle, I went to SAP. I hope they are not here today. I went to everyone from even Canon copier and Fuji Xerox to see what solution there is. And most of the time they tell me what they have. They're more interested in selling what they have rather than listening to my problem. And because our problem is unique to our industry, so it's kind of hard to find off the shelf, okay? And just to bear in mind, this is way back in 2008, around that time, when cloud computing and all this kind of smaller software is still not available. Only the big software are around. So we decided, okay, let's forget about it. We try to design something of our own. So a lot of thought process has gone in, and I think it's important that we look at ourselves. So a lot of reflection, every mistakes that we make with customers. In fact, I went in many meetings with customers and they are scolding me. They know that I'm the boss son, so they scold harder, thinking that things can move, okay? So I get my fair share of scolding. But every mistakes that we make is actually a valuable lesson and a valuable time to actually change or improve. Okay, a lot of teamwork, because this involves operation, a lot of lower skilled or the less educated people that we need to get them involved in designing the whole process through digitization. Of course, a lot of chance now to eliminate, reduce some of the processes to try to make sure things can do efficiently. And every change that you go forward, you actually try to get that feedback, okay? So a whole roadmap is being mapped out for the software. I will not go into the details, but because we didn't take off-the-shelf kind of approach, the design of the software is taken step by step. I think that helps my company because it's done step by step. The workers can engage and actually pioneer or in fact contribute more in terms of how the software will evolve. And then every time a mistake is being made, we take it back, we redesign it, and we launch it out again. So the workers kind of feel that they own that thing. And that ownership, I think, is what makes the whole transformation a success for us. Okay, so today, Oasis is our software, and it manages quite a lot of different things now because of the functions that we put in. So we have the IP protection, the formulation management, customer order management, warehouse blending, the documentation as well, and also outward bound shipment, which is the import-export stuff. So everything now has been transferred to the cloud since the day one we started. I think that was the best decision that we made back then in 2008, when cloud is still quite a relatively new term. Okay, with that, I'll play a short video clip. If you're falling asleep over the last 5 minutes of what I've been talking, just pay attention on this video. It's just 2-3 minutes. We started off from a small paint shop about 40 years ago at Jalan Besar, and the company grew. We went into chemical distribution and now OEM manufacturing for blended chemicals. As we evolve, we start to face more complaints and complexity in our processes that we cannot handle. And that's when management felt that digital as one of the possible solutions. Oasis is our own more developed software. It manages all our process flow. Things were difficult at the beginning, especially the staffs are not IT trained. I think in total we took probably about a year plus just to convince the staff to adopt the digitization process. Management has been very supportive. We try to get as many people involved as possible, and being able to get them involved on the ideas does help to make the adoption a lot easier when we implement it. A lot of on-the-job training was done. We allow devices like mobile phones with our own applications, so that helps a lot in the adoption. Today, Oasis is built on the cloud. With a simple browser, you can actually access it. We have also started the portal to allow customers to log in. They are able to retrieve documents online rather than resending in hard copy to them. They are also able to track our performance in terms of our process flow. So in terms of the parameters, they are able to know whether we are meeting the kind of standard that they requested for. As Oasis start to creep into our process flow and manage things well, we start to bring new customers, and then from then on, the company grew. We also started our overseas expansion. We have about 5 overseas offices now. Oasis belongs to the staff of Egmore. The sense of pride, the sense of achievement. I hope winning this award gives them the confidence to push ahead, to do further digitization for the company. Okay, just to share the last few years after the implementation of the software, we do see drastic improvement in company performance, but I think more importantly, the staff morale. In fact, 2 days ago, I was giving a presentation to an MNC. So the question is how you control your processes. We demo the whole Oasis. The customer tell me, do you actually sell this software and where can I buy it? Because internally, they were thinking to implement it as well. So some of the tangible benefit that we saw, definitely a lot of cut down of paperwork. And then I think that's important. Not apart from saving the trees, but documents, sometimes as you pass around, it gets missing. You don't get an updated copy. So if you retrieve it online, it does help to reduce a lot of mistakes. We definitely see our production volume surging drastically by 9 times. We open up new factories, partly because of the growth, and also because now it's easier to transfer processes across different factories. And we can redeploy different production across different factories because everything is cloud-based for us. And of course, in terms of the non-conformance, which the mistake make, we still do make mistake, but we have cut down quite drastically, and that helps to give the confidence back to the customers. Okay, with that, I just want to highlight towards the end as well, transformation is a journey, and definitely after COVID, we see a lot of new challenges. Things that are probably similar to across different industries. Supply chain, geopolitics tensions are very different now. And I think the government has been warning us as well. We are looking at a very, very different world. The climate change is also a key focus. A lot of other industries may not be aware of it that much, but for myself coming from the petrochemicals and oil and gas, a lot of discussion is now being made. A lot of initiative has been driving down. And with the country, and especially like Singapore signing off the Paris Accord, a lot of the way that we work, we consume will change, okay? The work from home mentality, I'm sure there are some students here who are graduating, very different mindset. You expect work from home. When I joined Egmore in 17 years ago, I'm expected to work on Saturday, and I fought so hard. I fought 3 years before the company gives up the Saturday half-day working to revert back to 5 days. But the youngsters and the new generation today are thinking of at least 2 days or 3 days per week to work from home. That means you only have 2 days in the office. Okay, and finally, of course, operating costs with inflation is creeping up a lot, and that means that things will get tougher and margins will get squeezed. Okay, so definitely we do a lot of strategy thinking. I will not go into the details of the strategy stuff, but we do work with Singapore Poly closely. In fact, I think around May we run a workshop on their CWT program, the Company and Workforce Transformation Program, to come out with strategies. Not so much on the knowledge and all those business model and all those stuff that we do, but the 5-day workshop does help us a lot. A lot of our managers, because we are from SME, they don't have experience, they never went through all this. And I think by putting them together over 5 days, makes them feel that they own the strategies that they have developed. And I think that's the key important thing that I would like to deliver. Okay? With that, my time is up. I will end the presentation today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Roy. Thank you, Roy. Again, another impactful journey from a small paint shop to a regional chemical distributor and a leading service provider in the region. When I was listening to Roy just now, when he was talking about involving as many people as possible, getting the buy-in, I could relate to that because in our school, when we teach our students, when they take up final year projects, we use the DT methodology. So we start from kickoff, ideation, co-creation, prototyping, and our digital and our marketing students, they even go as far as proof of concept as well. So this is something that's really something that resonates with us. And now, on to our last, but certainly not the least speaker, Mr. Albert Hyo Hakyong, Principal Solution Architect with Ericsson in Market Area Southeast Asia, Oceania, and India, or MOAI. Albert's main focus is on Ericsson's network solutions and the evolution path towards 5G and IoT. He has been with Ericsson over the last 13 years under a range of global roles in 3G, 4G, and 5G planning, design, consulting, and deployment, now based out of Singapore. Albert's topic is adopting 5G and digital technology towards Industry 4.0. 5G provides the network capabilities that are essential for industries undergoing digital transformation. Advanced technologies such as AI or artificial intelligence, advanced automation, and augmented virtual reality, which are all powered by 5G connectivity, will provide greater flexibility for Industry 4.0 operations. Without further ado, I give you Albert.
Hi, good morning. Proud to be here. Thank you for the introduction, Emma. My name is Albert. I'm from Ericsson. Maybe a show of hands. Anyone still think Ericsson makes mobile phone, smartphones? Well, we don't. We actually provide information and communication technologies to our customer. So let us now start with the global view. We start with what we see in the mobile trend globally, as reported in our Ericsson Mobility Report, published June 2022. The graph over here, the bar graph in red, shows the total monthly mobile data traffic in exabyte. The line graph shows the year-on-year increment. As you can see from here, mobile network traffic grew 40% between Q1 of 2021 and Q1 of this year. A quarter-to-quarter increment is about 10%. The total monthly mobile network data traffic is at 93 exabyte in Q1 2022. This actually means, if you look at the graph, in just 2 years, pre-COVID, the mobile data traffic has doubled. Of course, we are not surprised by this. We have heard from the previous speakers how COVID has changed our lives, the way we work, the way we shop, and maybe what we eat if we order delivery. And how is this compare between 5G and 4G? Look at the next graph. This is actually the 5G and 4G subscription uptake in the first years of deployment. I'm not sure if anyone in the audience remember. 4G was introduced in 2009. The first 5G network was deployed in 2019. If you look at the graph, you can see that 5G subscriptions has reached 1 billion subscribers 2 years sooner than 4G. This is mainly fueled by a few reasons. One of it is the device or the smartphone availability. The prices of the devices were going down faster than 4G, and as well as the early and massive deployment of 5G networks in China. And where do Ericsson plays a part here? Ericsson is the global 5G leader, and we are powering up 130 live 5G networks across 55 countries. Up to date, we have shipped approximately 9 million 5G-ready radios for the base stations to provide the 5G services. We believe that 5G will be the biggest innovation platform ever. And this is depicted over here. So you start from the bottom. The bottom is actually the 5G digital infrastructure. Okay, you have the radio access network, you have the core OSS, BSS, And these are all supported by our technology leadership attributes such as sustainability, reliability and resilience, cloud native, security, and data driven. And in the middle part, you will see the network capabilities, or the so-called platform values, coverage and capacity, voice services, broadband services, enhanced mobile broadband services, high speed, low latency, network slicing. These are the capabilities that our operator customer can use to expose to the web developer or the application developer. And that the result is on the top, which is an array of use cases for different industries and different settings. This platform will be a good platform to generate enterprise business in industries of different verticals, such as manufacturing, oil and gas offshore, mining, power utilities, airport, and ports. And I'll go into a couple of details in some of the examples. We start with manufacturing. I think we heard from Roy just now that there's always a pain point for the manufacturers, that the end user or the end consumer are expecting customization. And when you need to fulfill the needs of customization, your factory needs to be agile and flexible. And that is one of the key pain points for conventional manufacturing. These are the 5G powered use cases that will improve the agility and flexibility of a manufacturing production line. Using autonomous mobile robot, or AMR, to do simple goods and material delivery across the production line. Collaborative robots, robotic arms working side by side with the operator, doing repetitive and easy tasks, sort of sorting, boxing, and so forth. Augmented reality for effective quality control or quality control inspections. Monitoring and tracking of assets, for example, certain screwdrivers that will require maintenance. So if these screwdrivers are connected, we can actually schedule preventive maintenance rather than wearing it off and realizing that it is not working anymore. So, and the other thing is, the other possible use case is the digital twin. This is actually a virtual representation of the factory floor. In fact, there is a demo or proof of concept here in Singapore Poly, in the Advanced Manufacturing Center, I think in block W13, in collaboration with Singtel and Singapore Poly and Bosch Rexroth, powered by Ericsson. These are the reference cases for manufacturing, 5G in manufacturing. These are the industry upticks. We have collaborations with different manufacturing companies, such as the automotive manufacturing. We collaborated with Porsche and Audi in Germany, more towards autonomous robotics and collaborative robots. We also have collaboration with Atlas Copco in Belgium. They produce industry standard compressors. So what they did is they connected the PLCs, the AGVs, the cameras, and sensors across the production line. we have also our own Ericsson US factory in Louisville. This is actually a digital native factory. So it was built up. It was constructed with a design thinking in mind to be digital native, to be connected in both 4G and 5G, and over the last and during the first year of completion, they tested out 25 use cases within that is connected to the network. This factory actually won the World Economic Forum 4IR, Fourth Industrial Revolution Global Lighthouse accreditation. What about ports? In ports, the main pain point for port operators is actually to increase volume with the limited size that they have, to reduce the docking time, to reduce the waiting time for the vessels coming in. I believe now what is happening is when the vessel comes to closer to the shore, they will have to wait for a port pilot from the port operators to come and maneuver the vessel into the port. So use cases such as remote control ship-to-shore cranes is important to improve efficiency of ports operation. Automated guided vehicles are currently already used in the port environment, but in order to scale it up, because it could be up to hundreds and thousands of AGVs in a port operation. In order to scale it up, you need a technology that is able to handle the connection density, and that is what 5G can offer. And that same goes to remote control RTG, rubber tired gantry. These are actually leveraging on video streaming to remotely operate the cranes. Some of our examples of collaboration with our port operators around the world is we have with Belfast Harbour in UK, Port of Tyne in UK, Porto do Aveiro in Portugal, as well as Port of Liveno in Italy. Now, lastly, we talk about airports. They have the same pain point as port operators. The whole aim is to make sure that the planes are airborne and not grounded. There is a lot of digital transformation going on to fulfill end users' requirements. So for example, one of the use case that we talked about when we talked to airport operators is on their end users, on the airlines end users. If you're seated down, you're watching a movie on flight, and then you arrive at your destination, but you really want to continue watching the movie. So what happened is they are exploring the possibilities of having information transit between the airline across to an application which could be provided by the airline, so that you can seamlessly continue enjoying a movie on your mobile app. So that is something that was being brought up for exploration. Of course, other than that, we have the mission critical push to talk, mission critical voice and video communications for the airport staff to communicate with each other, automated inspections and predictive maintenance, or remote monitoring and tracking of your baggages, for example. So these are the possible use cases in an airport environment. One of the reference case we have is with Paris Airport Group. There was a demand to merge two separate systems, the trunk radio network for voice communication and the data network. And then they realized that there's a lot of technical limitation on Wi-Fi and on Tetra, the trunk radio for voice. So what happened is they came to Ericsson. They wanted one network to be able to provide both mobile broadband as well as mission critical push to talk or as a replacement for their trunk radio network. So the result is that we have implemented in one of their terminals the mobile technology, the push to talk service, AR and video sharing, luggage tracing, and some on aircraft software and content update through the mobile network. Having said all this, digital transformation is it's a long journey. We believe in any transformation or any innovation, there is a need for an ecosystem. So Ericsson is actually having a lot of partnerships and collaboration with different players within this so-called Industry 4.0 wireless ecosystem. From the independent software vendors to the device partners, partners actually creating the modules, the chipsets, the cellular gateways, the sensors, the wearables, the cameras, and so forth. And even the system integrators. So in order to, we believe in order to succeed in any introduction of new technology or any transformation, you cannot do it alone. You have to partner up. You have to, if you are the front runner, you have to drive the ecosystem. You have to drive the ecosystem. So I'm going to conclude with 3 key takeaways. The first one is technology matters. Technology matters. So 5G is set to become the dominant access technology as the demand for connectivity is continuously increasing. We have already seen how mobile data traffic doubled in the last 2 years. In fact, I forgot to mention the 5G subscription, it is forecasted to hit 4.4 billion by year 2027, and that will account for 48% of mobile subscription. So 5G is going to be the dominant access technology in 2027. So it will provide the network capabilities that are essential for industries to undergo digital transformation. Number 2, I think it was mentioned by Roy as well as by Marcus that we need to embrace the new ways of working to stay ahead. Old ways of doing business rapidly being phased out, and the industry, established industries know it, and they are moving towards that direction. And the last takeaway is that the ecosystem partnership is critical to take 5G to the industries. So to be successful, companies need to spend time building a strong network of alliances and partners so that it will become a part of a wider digital world. Thank you.
Thank you, Albert. Would you like to stay here? Thank you so much. Albert, thank you for sharing your global and regional insights with us. You know, when you were projecting that slide with all the signs there and logos, I was like, wow, 5G is everywhere. Okay. What a way to wrap up our speakers sharing. Before we invite back the rest of our distinguished speakers, let me please introduce to you a very special guest panelist, Dr. Antika Sawadsri, Dean, Architecture, Art and Design, King Mongkut's Institute of Technology, Lad Krabang in Thailand. Dr. Antika was actually a plenary speaker during the Design Thinking UX 2020. So she is a returning guest panelist. She will provide a regional reflection on how this year's topics bear relevance not only to IHL supporting business innovation education, but also share her unique perspective on what regional business can do to grow. So everybody's up here already, so I'm gonna sit down and take my seat. I do have a lot of questions, but already there's so many questions from the crowd as well. But my first question is to Dawn. Dawn, before you came to Design Singapore, you were with the Economic Development Board. In fact, during your time in Europe, it was then that the EDB opened their first office in Zurich, isn't it? Yes. So could you draw some parallels, if you can, between Europe or the West in general and Asia in its approach in using design in their business strategies and moving forward?
So that's a really interesting question, because the demographic profile of Europe is actually quite different from the demographic profile in Asia, and particularly in Southeast Asia. The maturity of the economies is also quite different. So I think what's interesting in Europe is that for many of the companies and many of the brand names that we are all familiar with today, brands like Dyson, for example, right? Even Tesla, and that's an American company, not they're all known for good design, right? It's not necessarily so much that this is like the most powerful motto that they have in it, but there's something about the user experience of using that product, right? Driving that car, that makes it desirable, but it also works well. Right? I mean, those of us who have Dyson hair dryers are like, yay, great, Dyson hair dryer, right? Yeah. So there's something about that DNA of design being core to the way they think about their products and the way that the users interact with their products and the solutions. Now, if I bring it back to Asia, I've actually seen quite a few companies here already start to bring design into the core of their process. I'll give you an example, SATS. So, SATS is for those of us who know, SATS does all your airport gateway management. They also do all the catering for our food on SQ Airlines and many of the other airlines. And SATS has an innovation center that's located separate from the airport that has a bunch of designers sitting around looking at how food packaging on the flights can be sustainable at its core. And it goes to the very beginning of what shape of food box for the laksa that they're going to serve on your flight, or the nasi lemak. What is that shape and that design that allows us to use minimal packaging, minimal paper, right? How do you cut it from the start, and yet that shape preserves the essence of that laksa when it's reheated on the flight? There's a lot of design elements that go into that at the start. You don't do it at the end, because you produce that packaging at the start together with the product, which is the food it's trying to preserve. And you can save so much packaging just by bringing in that element of design to the start, right? So I can see that that mindset is changing, right? And I look forward to seeing a lot more of our Singapore companies also bringing that into mind. I think Erwin also shared a bit about how his salted egg products have also taken that into consideration.
Thanks, Dawn. I have a follow-up question on that related to Asia. We were talking earlier on, we said that we do a lot of work with our clients, industry partners. Just last semester, we had 35 clients we work with in School of Business. And one of the common denominators of CEOs, no disrespect to our CEOs here, is that they always are very impatient. They always we have a problem, we want to get to the solution already. So is that a common pitfall of going into design?
Completely. And actually what we see is many people, and no offense to all, but 5G is great. Many people start with, I want to put 5G, I want to put RPA, I want to put, AI, but you don't really have an idea of why you're doing that. It's just that I need to put that technology in, right? So you need to start actually with what is the problem that you're trying to solve and who are you trying to solve it for? And then you work towards which is the best technology, the best platform, the best process to help you get there. And so many times we see businesses start with the end in mind first because the boss has an idea that that's a solution. So can you backward derive from me how we can bring that solution in, right? And therefore it becomes technology-centric, solution-centric. It is not client-centric. It is not user-centric. And that's where we see a lot of the pitfalls, and also why some of the programs that we design at Design Singapore for companies and SMEs to come on board is to help with that mindset shift, that you need to start with that user end in mind first, or your client end in mind.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to
Go
chip in a
ahead,
bit,
Albert.
if you don't mind.
Defend
But,
technology.
No. I'm totally across. I definitely agree with what Don mentioned, because whenever we approach the enterprise or the industry, we don't tell them what we can do. We basically want to understand their operations and want to understand what are their pain points. In fact, most of the times, I think maybe more than 50% of the time, we realize what they actually want can be already be done in 4G. You don't actually need a new technology. So yeah, just to
Thank you, thank you. Well, this is exactly what Roy spoke about earlier when you went to different, when you were creating Oasis, that people are, some suppliers are very interested in doing, in giving you their products, their finished product, and they don't personalize it. And that's what design is about, is personalizing, understanding their pain points. Roy, since I'm just talking about you just now, my first question to you is, 42 years in the business, you could have just rest on your laurels and not do automation, not do all this very bold and aggressive digitization. Why do that? What is the price of staying still? Why did you feel the need to do what you have done in terms of digitization?
Well, very simple. If we don't evolve, we just cease to exist. And I think in today's world where things are moving so fast, technology is moving so fast. I mean, to be frank, I'm with a telco company before. I was doing 3G back then, and today it's already 5G. The pace is moving much faster than before. So if we stop and we stay still, and probably 5-10 years later, you find that you are no longer relevant in the whole value chain, and you just cease to exist.
Thank you. Thanks, Roy. They say that, I'd like to ask Irvin on this question. They say that this question is from our audience, Satria Wibawa. Thank you so much for asking this question. Design is contextual. How do we design for very diverse audiences or people? In your case, you talk about your presence in the region and even outside in the US, UK, Australia. So how do you create that value to each of this diversified market?
The question is more so do we localize each design in every country? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
So I don't approach it that way, to be honest, because when I was doing this in the design of Irvin's itself comes from it's a language that we were trying to portray. For example, right, the patch of the Irvins, the yellow and why it's so messy and all that. So we want to portray the excitement, the flavors in it, So that's why it's not clean. So maybe we'll have another product which is clean label, and you have everything is clean. Actually, at this stage of our branding at the moment, I was told that we localize too much in each country. So we work with marketing agencies in each country, and the result is that in Vietnam, for example, the Earth logo is actually is very expressive, and the guy is smiling and all that. So we actually needed more discipline in terms of making it more standardized across the world. I don't know whether this actually answers, but I'm just giving my perspective of what we are doing. Yeah.
I see. Thank you. Is it contextual, Don? Design?
It's completely contextual. Yeah. And I was just thinking, like, when you are looking at your clients, are they homogenous? The answer is no. I mean, even we talk about Singapore and Singaporeans, right? Or Singapore residents as a customer segment, we're not homogenous. There's actually a lot of sub-segments amongst us, and we all have different user needs. And so design it's completely contextual because it's about designing for that customer segment. So it's actually really important to know who your customer is and who you are designing for, who are you going after. It is not a homogeneous subset, right? There may be similarities, there are values that underlie all of us as human beings, but it is contextual to what your product offers and what that specific customer segment is looking for.
Thank you, thank you. Hock Lin, when you were sharing earlier, you spoke about sending most of your team, even during COVID, to come here and partner with us, doing design thinking, workshop, etc. One of the things that we also heard earlier when you were all sharing is the concept about sustainability. In fact, now we have, there's a growing trend on ESG, yeah? It's not Enterprise Singapore, environment, social, and governance. Is it all a trend, this sustainability? How can we, this is a question, by the way, from Ashley Tan, it's not my question. She said, while incorporating sustainability into design is important, how can we ensure that it's not just a trend to follow, but a movement that truly sustains? Before you answer, let me remind you earlier, I'll quote Dawn when she said, sustainability is about inclusiveness, it's about accessibility. So how can we sustain sustainability?
How come you ask me such a difficult question? It's lunchtime.
You're the colonel, sir.
To pretend to be a designer. So the question is about what is sustainability to us, right? And really how to make it sustainable. It cannot be a buzzword. Everything we do, we must believe it. And you, like I say, you must put the heart in the right place. So what is the heart of sustainability? Because we are all connected. COVID has taught us we are more connected than what we thought. And the biggest threat is not COVID, but actually it's a climate threat. Many years ago, when I was in the military, I have a sharing by some ministry from other functions, and the threat is about weather. When the temperature increase, actually at home when the temperature increase, usually I get scolding. All right, there will be threats. So it's a existential type of thing, and everybody have to embrace it. That must be the fountain. But the path to this actually is not so easy, because sustainability costs money. And business people, because I've done that in Youth Olympic Games, when I buy sustainable products, it's much more expensive than normal plastic cups. It's a real problem. So the question actually is asked, how do we balance both? One is for the future, one is the current reality. So from a designer perspective, I'm a rough designer, you have to look from a current reality and a future point of view and find the balance. From the organization's perspective, we have to look from an individual perspective and then harmonize with a system perspective. Like what Roy has shared and Marcus has shared, from a business perspective, if you scale very, very fast, you are going to face other sub-optimization system or unintended consequence, and you have to deal with that. So design thinking is not a single track, but it's an iterative and a very dynamic process. Hence, the leader doing design thinking have to listen to all perspective, now and future, and below and above, and all function. So it's almost a three-directional type of thinking perspective.
Yep. Thank you so much. We have a question here for Roy and Marcus from Marielle. Yeah, she said, how do you measure staff morale? What were some methods to convince adoption of technology by your staff, especially elders? And I think maybe, Roy, you can share with them that in your company, in ICMO, you have the age group of your employees being 40 years in business. Maybe you first and then Marcus.
Okay, yeah, it's true that we have quite a sizable group of senior staff with us. I think especially around the age of 50 to 60s even. So to answer your question, a good way to measure your staff morale is how many years they stay with your company. Okay, and for SME like us, definitely that's an asset that we want really to have, because staff turnover is always more disruptive for SME as compared to an MNC. So maybe to bring about the point of the senior staff as well, a lot of engagement, communication is required. You have to understand they come from a different background or different generation as compared to us. So you have to really understand from their point of view, and when you go through all these changes and transformation, get them involved as early as you can rather than giving them a shock, saying that, oh, this is the way that we're going to do tomorrow. And that shock can really kill them in a way that they thought that they are getting obsoleted. And a lot of times, I think these senior staff have that have the mindset that they will get obsoleted because they have been bombarded by media, by a lot of people telling them that if you don't adapt, you out you go, okay? And or the company is trying to replace you with robots. I'm not so sure how many factories have actually robots, but that kind of thought has always been entrenched in their mind. And that's one of the things that you have to overcome very early in any of the changes that you bring about in any organization.
Thank you. How about you, Marcus? How do you keep the staff morale amidst reassuring them they're not going to be replaced by technology?
Yeah, I think mine is an easier task than Roy, because I founded the company, right, during a younger age. So most of my staff is with me for many, many years, especially the senior staff. So it's easier to do what usually our army staff we do, lead by example. So it's pretty simple. The experience I have is when actually I start work in this industry. When actually I first joined the industry, right, working for people, during the time we are still going through a transformation stage, from telex to fax to email. And I belongs to those that are more techie staff. So I'm the first one in the company, in a global company, that actually use external email. So that's actually drive the transformation in the company. So when I started my own this company, it's easier that I actually lead by example, and the staff that join me, basically they follow me. But now I have become actually the burden. I'm still the person that actually needs to read newspaper on paper. I read it on the iPad, on the iPhone, but I still need the newspaper over the weekend to read. So to relax myself, my brain, all this. And in order for the company to move on, to attract the second generation to come in, so we actually have to move with the current type form of digitization, different from those days that we are in. So Roy was telling me just now how to actually get the second generation to get interested in this type of petrochemical industry, which
Maybe
is
I should
actually
write a book on it.
yes. So now the younger generation are more actually more savvy with apps, with mobile phones. The older generation, we are still going with the Excel, not so much on the cloud. So this is a transition. And I think the word lead by example, that means we ourselves as this senior management, together with all the senior management, we have to lead the team and empower them. And earlier I've said that we try to empower and leverage. We actually give the staff, especially our senior staff, to ask them to actually collaborate with the younger staff to embark on new project, so that the new staff can give them some idea actually how to break those what we do in the past. So what we do in the past might not be what we're going to do in the future. So what be done now might not be possible, but tomorrow is possible. So there's a mentality we have to build into the culture of the company itself. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes,
Share
go
a point,
ahead.
because
Go ahead,
I
Hoklin.
realized Marcus is more army than me. And but we share a common thing. I saw his CV just now. He's an artillery NCO, so we are gunner. All right.
You're also Ghana.
Yes. Once a Ghana, always.
I'm not a Ghana. I'm a target acquisition.
Very good. That's why your revenue keep on rising. So you acquire the right target. I want to say this because I'm a student of aging, gerontology. And I'm very passionate about the embracing seniors. And the key thing is really is a very critical subject that we need to look at, because in Singapore, manpower is our only key assets. And we are facing a fast rising aging population. So we need to use design thinking to embrace both the young and the older ones. And the question really now is, what is the value that you can put on the table for the senior as well as the young? The senior have strong values, commitment, all right, and all the other stuff that actually can permeate the whole culture. The young can learn new skills, move forward. The question is, how do we apply, like what Don said, right? Transdisciplinary.
Yes.
Now it's intergeneration from young to old and integrate. Why I say this? Because in Active Energy, 60% of our staff is 60 years old and above.
Wow.
Wow. So when I calculate the time, actually my final time is actually the most important person. How old is he? And my chief lifeguard, we just have a retirement ceremony yesterday. Joe is here. He's 50 plus, but he looked like 15 years old.
That's what swimming does.
So much wisdom, all right? It's so much wisdom, and how do we still retain their knowledge and that value? And so the whole HR construct need a redesign. And the way that I look at it is that, how do we retain these seniors without much cost into our organization? Public agency also need to pay, right? And that's based on taxpayer money. So we have a part-time scheme, I call it tapered down, then to have a subsequently become a volunteer. The key thing is not about money, but actually preserving the identity of the person that live. And more importantly, as a country, we are defined not just educating the young and the future leaders, but also how we treat our old, because everybody will grow old. Right?
Can I add?
That's a pitch for seniors. So you know my age already.
Thanks, Polytechnic. Yes, I say yes to that.
And if I can
Go
add
ahead,
to
Dawn.
what he said, I completely agree. And if you actually look at the statistics, a few years ago we ran the Singapore Population White Paper. It was a bit controversial, but if the numbers still hold, by 2030, 1 in every 5 of us will be 65 years and above. Today, our population fertility rate is 1.1. We are not replacing ourselves. So our workforce is going to be older. You're going to have to design your workplaces for an aging workforce, right? 40 already nowadays, at 40 you get Elder Shield, so our aging is coming earlier and earlier, right? So I think it's important that if you're a business owner, you actually start thinking about this now with an maybe with an older worker as your user and stakeholder. Yeah, they are not afterthoughts. Your workers are actually your partners, and in many ways, they are also your users, right? One of my favorite places in Singapore that I've recently got to know very well is Enabling Village. And Enabling Village, if you have a chance, please go and visit, get a tour. It was designed to be intergenerational. So even though it sounds like enabling, it's for the old, if you actually go there, there's a playground for children. It's also an inclusive playground for children who are less mobile. If you're a child with a
Where is
wheelchair,
this, Dawn?
Enabling Village.
Where?
Red Hill.
Oh.
Yes, yeah.
Oh.
It's set in a mature estate. So the playground there is actually wheelchair enabled for children who are less mobile, right? The entire building, the entire place is wheelchair friendly, but it is set in such a beautiful surrounding. The architects did a great job with it because they started with the end user in mind. It was designed for maximum inclusion across generations and across different mobilities. So one of the first places in Singapore there's a hearing loop. So if you are hearing impaired, there are actually parts of that building where it cancels out your surrounding ambient noise and allows your hearing aid to actually pick up the conversations much clearer, right? So we can design for inclusion, we can design for an aging population. This is our reality, and we have to put that at the front and center of how we think about that future.
Absolutely.
Actually, I was in Embryoing Village for quite some time because I was trying to understand special needs.
Yeah.
And I went to their Starbucks there, and actually there's a process behind, and I visit it so often, they thought I'm one of them. And the key thing when I was in that environment, I start to see from a special needs perspective. And in the military, I was trying to change, making a change to be inclusive in the way that we do training. The easiest is by manufacturing process, sorting out by groups. But then after some time, the easiest thing is not to do with those that you feel that is not the same. But this is not inclusive. So how do we do that? Is to understand from their perspective when special needs can still do physical exercise because it's a physical body, not a behavior. So when you understand the constraint, then you can unlock that and have certain level of normalization.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Very
so
good.
that's my little joke and
Thanks,
learning.
Hong
Yeah,
Klin.
thanks.
Thank you. You know, I really am, I must commend you. You're really, when you talk about sports and seniority and aging, population, etc., it's very clear to me your 3 C's, right? If I remember it correctly. Hold a second. Clarity of compassion, clarity in thoughts, and building confidence. So congratulations. You're really...
Plus.
Okay, I get an A. The teacher gets an A today. All right. I do have a question again from the audience for Albert. It says here from Tatum Sharifa Adiningrum. It says, Ericsson Tech has a lot of potential for efficiency. Is there an example of implementation in a labor-intensive place like Indonesia? How to balance labor and tech?
Okay. I'll tackle the first question first. Indonesia is still very much an emerging market, and they're pretty much focused on consumer. In terms of using technology such as mobile network to embrace towards the enterprises, I think there are pockets of trials and POC ongoing, but I see that more will come when the 5G network will be launched, I think, later. Yeah. So how do we actually balance between technology and labor force? Actually, the key thing is, as what being mentioned in the previous discussion, is that there's a change in workforce already. There's also a workforce crunch, and there's also technical expertise crunch, and this is global. This is global. So we balance it by using technology to complement the workforce. Some of the examples that I spoke about is like one thing is about the collaborative robots. It's not replacing human. It's just that it's going to be side by side with an operator doing those repetitive things slightly faster, but doing those repetitive things. And end of the day, the operator is still going to be next to the robot to perform the more complicated task. So yeah, that's how you balance. You actually complement. Yeah.
Thank you, Albert. Since we are in Indonesia, we will end in Indonesia as well. Dr. Antika, you've clearly championed DT in your university, specifically in your school. But do you think, just like Singapore Poly, there are other schools that will also lend itself naturally to embrace design thinking in their pedagogy?
Right, thank you so much. And I think this is such a great opportunity. I hardly see like the mixture between the education sector sitting next to the private and company and business sector. I think it's a good and fruitful conversation here. For the new program so far, I come from the university that age like 60 years old. Is the good maturing as a people, you know, like and they see themselves, okay, we are expert in the technology. The name is the King Mongkut Institute of Technology. We have engineering, architecture, information technology, some sorts of technology-led education. And then I found that it's not the trend that we have to talk about design thinking or user experience, but is that actually is the force of the next generation when they, the way they start with the curriculum planning of or doing a program by leading by the end user, again, is the next generation learners. For in the past, when we start to do a curriculum, we mostly looking at what our staff have, like what kind of expertise do they have, how many subjects that you can teach, something like that, that lead by the staff orientation. But in the last 20 years, in Thailand, it's not really called design thinking, but it started by the user-centered design, something like that. And by doing so, it can be adopted to design the curriculum. We start to study and do some research that what kind of a program or learning that need by the next generation in the last 5 years. And we do the research by reviewing some, they call 21st century skills and the competencies, what they need in both enterprise and the, to solve the complicated challenges, global challenges. And that's why we call this program the international program. And then we were here in Singapore to connect with SUTD to learn from them how to set the structure of curriculum. And finally, we came up with the program that only is called the Licensed Architect Program, 4 years. And we provide them the fundamental architectural studies for 2 years. And in the next 2 years, they have their own options that they can choose which modules they want to be focused in. And the first one is the digital architecture, of course, at that time, in the last 5 years. It's very new to learn and to catch up. And I would emphasize it's not the trend, it's a force from the enterprise that the architect to be, they need to realize about the digital transformation. And another modules we call construction management, because they lack of this job, this position in the industry as well. And the third one is about the tropical design, because if we go into the goal of sustainable development, but if we cannot understand ourselves in the tropical region, that would be impossible to, survive in the near future, whereas the flooding or climate change come to us. And the final modules we call design thinking, because in my university, they have the different cluster. For example, in my school, we have Universal Design Center that can actually teach with the graduate students. And why not? We start with the bachelor degree, and that's come with the AIDT called Architectural Intelligence and Design Thinking, and AIDT for short. So I hope that this new program, now our student in the third batch already, and the next year they're gonna choose which modules, and then they have to go abroad or working with the company to practice their knowledge before they go into the real enterprise. So I hope that this new program can not only study what is the design thinking about, but to practice it in the real world as they are architects as professions.
Thank you, Dr. Antika. And please apologies, I aced the 3 C's and I failed on geography. We are not ending in Indonesia, we're ending in Thailand. Sawadika. Wow. There's so much questions, but I know that we are standing between you and lunch. So we'd like to say thank you to our amazing, distinguished speakers. Please remember our hashtag DTUX Summit 2022. We have now come to the end of our plenary session. Thank you for taking the time to come here. Please come back. We have a lot in store for you, a lot more events coming up. For those of you who have successfully registered for the afternoon breakout workshop sessions, please take note that we will be moving to the various locations at 1:30. In the meantime, I'd like to invite our PCO, our distinguished guests, to please join us for lunch. And we'll have more questions and discussions later on over lunch, over makan. Thank you so much, everybody.